Should we get started?
Let's get it going. First up, Richard Branson back on Earth today after that big space adventure. His company, Virgin Galactic, launched him and 5 other crew members from a desert in New Mexico to the edge of space, just over 53 miles high up in the air. Our Tom Costello caught up with him after that flight. You don't want to miss their exclusive sit down. Actually, he jumped up on the couch like Tom Cruise. It was kind of amazing.
Yeah, that was a moment. All right, plus, we're going to have a report from Tokyo where athletes are starting to arrive for the Olympic Games. And some are speaking out about the COVID restrictions they're facing. We are just, by the way, 11 days away from opening ceremony, which I know you're studying up on.
I can't believe it, Hodes. And then remember when we sat down, we had a little get-together, Team Today meetup at our favorite places. One of the favorite restaurants we go to, the Scottos. We reflected on the past year. We talked about some of the lessons learned along the way. It was so fun to be together, breaking bread outside of the studio.
Oh, that was a blast. And also, as you guess who we caught up with in the 4th hour?
Who?
The one, the only, John Stamos.
Ooh.
We love us some John Stamos. He's got a new podcast. I know, right? If you're a fan of true crime, though, you're going to love this. Babe, that's what you say. I say Stamos, you say babe. All right, are you ready?
Well,
because
80s Savannah thinks babe.
I think 2021 thinks babe, too. All right, it's time for Today in 30.
Let's go.
We are going to begin with that historic space flight and billionaire Sir Richard Branson making history. His company, Virgin Galactic, launching him and 5 other crew members from a New Mexican desert to the edge of space, just over 53 miles high.
Our Tom Costello has been following this so-called battle of the space billionaires. He joins us from New Mexico with more and a big exclusive sit-down. Hi, Tom. Good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Spectacular day, beautiful day, and great success. Sir Richard Branson, officially now the first name in the new chapter in a new book about space travel for everyday Americans. They hope anyway. He and Virgin Galactic soaring 53 miles up, with the military and NASA say is in fact the edge of space. And Branson is hoping it opens the door for a whole new journey in space travel.
Release, release, release.
This morning, the space race between billionaires has a winner.
That is a full duration burn, folks. We are headed to space.
Blasting off 46,000 feet above the New Mexico desert on Sunday at speeds over 2,300 miles per hour. Sir Richard Branson and a crew of 5 others aboard Virgin Galactic's Unity spaceship, soaring to the edge of space.
Welcome to space, Unity 22.
The journey, 17 years in the making, and a lifelong dream for Branson.
I was once a child with a dream, looking up to the stars. Now I'm an adult in a spaceship.
Their flight reaching 53.5 miles high, affording the crew roughly 4 minutes of weightlessness and a truly out-of-this-world view before descending and returning home.
It's a complete experience of a lifetime. And now I'm looking down at a beautiful spaceport.
More than an hour after takeoff.
And there is full stop.
A moment to rejoice.
A perfect landing.
Followed by triumphant celebration back on Earth. We spoke exclusively with Branson and his children, Holly and Sam.
Sir Richard, congratulations. How are you?
I will come down with a bump soon.
Did it live up to your expectations and your hopes?
I've always dreamt about what it would be like to be in space looking back at this incredible Earth. It's impossible to describe just how magnificent it is.
The entrepreneur adding a new title to his resume, civilian astronaut, and he has the hardware to prove it.
Show us the wings. You worked hard for these.
I'm afraid nobody will ever be able to take them away from us. Once you're an astronaut, you're always an astronaut.
His excitement uncontainable.
I've got to show it off.
For Branson's family, it was nerves that were sky high.
I don't think I would be a loving son if I wasn't worried.
I knew fundamentally they were going to come back, but it's quite hard when your dad's going to do something so pioneering that no one else has really done.
I only did it to see whether she loved me.
Virgin Galactic's first full passenger test flight comes just 9 days before Jeff Bezos is expected to climb inside his Blue Origin rocket. The Amazon founder congratulating his competitors, adding, "Can't wait to join the club."
I hope that he has an extraordinary experience as we do.
Things are looking great.
Now a new goal, cutting down that $250,000 price tag for a ride. Doing so could make space tourism a possibility for the masses and allow everyone to see the world from this new perspective.
To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Hey!
Yeah, so if you can't afford the $250,000 price tag, Virgin Galactic now announcing that it is partnering up with the platform called Amaze, the fundraising platform, and launching a sweepstakes. 2 tickets to the edge of space, and he will take you himself on a tour through the entire operation on the ground, then launch you up to the edge of space. Kind of fun. Guys, back to you.
All right. Well, Tom, you mentioned Jeff Bezos obviously also planning to go to space. What more do we know about that flight and the timeline?
Yeah, so Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos set to take off on July 20th. They're still waiting for FAA approval for that flight. Virgin got approval 2 weeks before their flight. I'm told that they could get, from FAA sources, they could get that approval very soon in the next couple of days.
All right. We'll be watching. Tom, thank you very much.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Tonight, we're on the scene as the urgent search for survivors is underway after the deadly collapse of a high-rise building.
Buildings don't fall down in America like this.
The Delta variant. What does this mean for people who are fully vaccinated?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
Al is in Cleveland for our Reopening America series.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
It has been a long year.
Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like, really confusing.
So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for?
Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Talent and perseverance, inspiring America.
I've been preparing for a moment like this for my whole life. I have lots of songs and lots of stuff to share.
I want to show my daughter what it's like to overcome adversity.
So many reasons to cheer for that young lady.
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Let's turn now to Tokyo, where the Olympic athletes are touching down with just 11 days to go until the opening ceremony. NBC's Tom Yamas is in Tokyo with details on some new restrictions and COVID concerns. Hey, Tom, good morning.
Hey, Hoda, good morning to you. Many athletes arriving here may feel like they've entered a time machine, going back a year ago when cities across the globe were under intense lockdowns because of the pandemic. Here, they're going to be tested every day. They're going to have to wear masks pretty much everywhere. And it's an added challenge as they prepare mentally and physically to prove they're the best in the world.
Tokyo now under a state of emergency, and Olympians feeling it the moment they land. From long waits and COVID testing at the airport to apps that track their every move. Travel is limited to the Olympic Village and event locations. No trips to outside restaurants or tourist sites are allowed. U.S. boxer Keyshawn Davis describing it this way.
And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's very hard being out here. It's very hard staying focused because we are quarantining and we can't go nowhere.
But with all the restrictions in place, Olympic athletes are not required to be vaccinated.
I didn't want to put anything in my body that I didn't know how I would potentially react to. As an athlete on the elite level.
50.80 for Michael. Team USA's Michael Andrew competing in 3 events, saying he's not vaccinated and doesn't plan on it in the near future.
All of us here have been through very strict protocol.
Tokyo's new COVID restrictions, including no fans, have Serbian tennis star Novak Djokovic thinking twice about competing. Fresh off his victory at Wimbledon, he has done it. Djokovic is now on track to be the first man to ever win a Golden Slam, a Grand Slam plus a gold medal.
My plan was always to go to Olympic Games, but right now I'm a little bit divided. It's kind of 50-50 because of what I heard in the last couple of days.
Talented collection. For some events, the competition is already heating up. On the basketball court over the weekend, Team USA suffering a stunning loss to Nigeria in its first Olympic warm-up exhibition game.
They post up Durant and met up top by Achua. What a block!
Kevin Durant getting stuffed at the rim by Precious Achua, one of 7 NBA pros playing for Nigeria. The American team, though, also stacked with NBA stars, including Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, and Jason Tatum.
None of us had ever played with each other, so we're just trying to figure it out. We know we don't have 3 or 4 weeks, or whatever it may be, but I think this was good for us, and we're going to learn a lot from film, and just regroup.
So, Tom, we know that there is a ban on fans. You mentioned that at the Olympic venues, but now Tokyo is actually expanding that.
Yeah, we've just learned this a few moments ago. So there was some hope that other venues outside of Tokyo would allow spectators. But now we're learning that both the events in Fukushima and Sapporo, those were going to be baseball events. They're going to ban fans as well. So that ban seems to be spreading throughout the country, Hoda.
All right. Tom Llamas for us in Tokyo. We'll all be joining you there in a few weeks. Thank you, Tom.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
It has been a long year.
Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like really confusing.
So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for? Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready?
We're going to do our part to spread the word on the importance of vaccines, so crucial for reopening America.
A big day around here. A very special naturalization ceremony.
Many of them doctors, nurses, other essential workers.
If you are a nurse, thank you.
Spring has sprung, guys, and we want to fill this season with some fun and surprises.
Yes.
This is the face of excitement.
Celebrating Earth Day. Let's change the world. Love
it! What should we watch for to find out whether this Geneva summit was worth it? What would it take for you to support this bipartisan infrastructure deal? What are the issues that the party stands for? That seems to be the missing piece here. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back with Summer on Today. Carson's here. And we didn't know it, but the last summer we started a tradition, and we did it right smack in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, most of us obviously were still working remotely because of social distancing. We hadn't seen each other in person at that point for months. That is until we reunited outside in a colleague's backyard to check in on how we were all doing.
Yeah, well, it's been exactly a year since that reunion, and we decided, well, let's get together again and reflect on our experiences. Guys, let's raise a glass.
Yes, to summer.
To all of us.
Us?
To 1 foot
Tap
away.
that.
Yeah.
To being together.
Yes.
Cheers.
No mask. No mask. No mask.
It's hard to believe that just 1 year ago, this would not have been possible.
Can I have some of the lobster salad?
Crispy polenta, anyone?
This is a veggie option, but it's fried, so I'm going to say yes.
Sitting inside a restaurant, eating, drinking, and just being merry with friends who are family seemed an awfully long way away.
There we go, Uncle Al.
But then, 3 months ago, we got vaccinated, and our community started opening back up.
I knew things were better when I could sit on your lap.
Yeah.
By the way, when they let us sit next to each other.
I've always said that.
Right? And all of a sudden, once we started moving closer, we were like, look at us, we're on top of each other.
I'll tell you, outside the workspace, your daughter's wedding. And folks were sweating and dancing and singing and hugging.
Everybody was vaccinated.
Yes.
And having you guys there meant the world. It was like a coming out party.
It was.
You know, and it was really terrific. And I was happy to pay for it.
So one of the other big changes, I remember we were talking about a year ago from right now, when there was occasionally a nurse walking by. That's all you saw outside.
Oh, yeah.
There was a time when it was just you and our camera operator, Mason, and no one else.
But fast forward to now, you guys, we look outside.
Yeah.
Coldplay was on the plaza.
Yeah. I don't think we'll take these things for granted anymore, seeing people who come to the plaza or having music out there. Or even the people that we work with. When they started adding back our camera operators, the sound guys, the floor directors,
hair.
the props folks. Yeah, hair and makeup. Let's just light a candle.
Some of us
Raise a
don't
glass,
work.
soda, hair and makeup.
Hair and makeup.
And everybody said amen.
You know what I do miss?
What?
I do miss seeing Vale and Charlie.
Oh,
That, I have to say, watching them pop up, literally, it was like so calming, and it felt so at home. I still remember just like
Calming
watching
for you. I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Defense Secretary. Out of here.
Right.
I don't know how you pulled that off.
And by the way, the graphics department.
No, Jack Daly.
Jack
needs
Daly.
to get a little more.
Jack needs an agent. I mean, we get stopped now, and
What?
people are like, yo, you're the kid that holds the sign. Like,
Are you serious?
People just
They recognize the arms.
Yeah, he's like, look, it's me. That's me.
How did it feel, Carson, when you came back to the studio?
It felt great.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I started to harbor a little bit of guilt. I mean, I love my kids so much, and I felt bad because it came at the cost of a pandemic where people losing their lives.
Sure.
But I was so selfishly happy to be home with my kids because I travel so much. But I didn't move to New York to stay at home and work from home. I moved to be with my colleagues, to be in the environment that excites me and that we're lucky enough to get to do every day.
How are your kids? How did Dell and Sibby do?
Dell and Sibby, we're moving, and day before yesterday, we were going through some papers, and at the beginning of the pandemic, it was suggested that you have kids write letters to, sort of cope with how they're feeling, and Dell wrote a letter, and he said, I forget who it was to, but it said, "Dear blah, 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 please make the pandemic go away. Please have people stop dying. Please have people stop getting sick, and just, puddles, because we've started to forget just a year ago, like how scary it was for kids especially. We would not have probably gotten through the pandemic had it not been for my wife.
Well,
And she got COVID, right?
She did. She had COVID.
You go through that too.
And let me tell you, we took it, we obviously took it very seriously, so we had to sequester her in the room.
Siri got a false positive during this whole thing. She's sequestered in a room, and I have all 4 kids. I was on the phone with the doctor, who's gonna raise my children?
Well, how about yours?
It's just so funny now how they look back at pictures and wonder why we didn't have a mask on before. And we still worry about our kids. They're not vaccinated, they're little, and they're running around. But Haley got so used to it, and now we leave, and she's like, "Mom, do you have your phone? Do you have a mask?"
Right.
That's what they
Mine
say.
too.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's incredible how they roll
adapt.
with it. They get used to the mask. The day the CDC said, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear the mask outdoors, I picked up Vale at the bus stop with no mask. She comes down the bus stops with her mask, and she's like, "Mom, where's your mask? Put it on." She's like, she's got a job at the CDC waiting.
There you go. I think everybody's coming out and just feeling good. Like, look, we've come through something, and we're still going through it. But by God, thanks to a whole lot of people, we're able to live like America.
Yeah, I mean, talk about appreciating things you never even thought twice about in your life.
Right.
Like walking to the store with your kid without a mask on, or going to the beach, or getting in the car, getting on a plane.
Like this. Chill out.
Yeah.
Needing breath mints again.
Yes. But we're back, baby. Woo!
We're back.
Cheers to being back.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow.
Oh, by the way, what a blast that was. And that
so fun.
The fried polenta
forget it.
killed at Scotto's. And we do want to thank our good friends, the Scotto family. We kind of took over the restaurant. We nudged into their lunch rush. Fresco by Scotto. It was an amazing day. And J.K. Long really did a beautiful job.
Jen and that crew, by the way.
How about a morning boost, guys?
I got you covered. Here we go. A determined 4-year-old girl proving once again, no matter what obstacles face you, you should never give up. So take a look. A little girl from Massachusetts was in a roller skating race with a bunch of older girls. Well, she stumbled out of the gate. But you know what she did? She got up, his dad helped her, and look what happened. She takes off like a rocket.
Yes.
Before you know it, she's in the lead. She held on. She won. That just proves one thing. If you fall, you get up. Dad was right.
Wow.
And man, she was so excited. She just
Love her.
Go. And that was a hard fall, too.
Man, she did not stop.
Yes.
I love her.
Yeah.
Love her look, love her skates, love her speed, love her sass, the whole thing. Awesome.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Talent and perseverance, inspiring America.
I've been preparing for a moment like this for my whole life. I have lots of songs and lots of stuff to share.
I want to show my daughter what it's like to overcome adversity.
So many reasons to cheer for that young lady.
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
All right, we're not sure where the LA Times got this, but they recently named John Stamos one of TV's most underrated actors with the headline reading, "It's time he received his due." And for the record, we just want to go on the record saying we have been on the John Stamos bandwagon since forever.
I have had a poster on him since I was a teenager, okay? So from his early days as Blackie on General Hospital in the 80s to playing the beloved Uncle Jesse on Full House, and then on the follow-up series, Fuller Houser, to John's collaboration with the Beach Boys, John hasn't missed a day of work.
Okay, this is the coolest new chapter in his life. He can add a true crime podcast to his credits. It's called The Grand Scheme, Snatching Sinatra. It's all about the man who kidnapped Frank Sinatra Jr. back in 1963.
Don't we love this? Hi, John.
Juicy.
Okay, first of all, true crime is right up our alley, but so is the Beach Boys. And is it true that you performed with them over the 4th of July?
That's true. Yeah, we were in Fort Lauderdale, and it was a crime because it was so hot.
Well, what I love is not only do you love to perform with the Beach Boys, which we're looking at right now. Oh my God, that looks like a blast! And what
it's so fun.
How did you come on? This is a tradition of sorts. How did this happen?
Well, you mean just me playing with the Beach Boys, or? Yeah, I started one of the first times I ever played with them was in 1984 at the Monument, and there was 1 million people there, and Jimmy Page was playing guitar, and they just haven't been able to get rid of me after all these years. So I'm just stuck. Yeah, you can't get more patriotic, right? It's the Beach Boys, 4th of July.
Amazing.
You have to shoot apple pie out of a T-shirt cannon or something.
Americana.
Well, now let's talk about little Billy, because we're in love with your little boy, and he's enjoyed the stage a little bit too, huh?
Well, he's starting to get that ham bone going. That was a beautiful moment because we were playing God Only Knows, and I don't really play anything on that song. So he said, "Dad, can I come on stage?" And he sat back on the drums with me there.
That is magical. That's how you get better. We didn't even need an apple pie.
Yeah.
Wait, John, when we just read that underrated LA Times article, when you read stuff like that, are you like, thanks a lot? Or are you like, okay, you're right, I do deserve my due?
No, thanks a lot. And in reading it too, it was the LA Times, the calendar section. I just remember both my parents. That was their, they were into the LA Times, and I used to clip out, clippings from the calendar section. So reading it was surreal, and I just wish my parents were around to read it, but they're seeing it.
Oh, that is so sweet. Okay, we're going to get to the podcast in one quick second, but we did want to ask if you've kept up with your former TV niece, Ashley Olsen, because there was a strange, I don't know, image, meme or something that went viral over the weekend. We'll pop it up and just see.
Your reaction. A machete.
She's got a machete and a cocktail. It seems normal. We're not sure.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't talked to them in a while, but maybe is it getting ready for Halloween or something? I don't know. I don't know. I have no comment.
Okay, but let's talk about your podcast, The Grand Scheme, Snatching Sinatra. This is super cool. Tell us how this idea came to you.
Well, my relationship with the Beach Boys, I met Jan and Dean, another surf rock duo. And crazy story, I met at the Orange County Fair about 25 years ago, and Dean Torrance says, "Say, Stamos, do you do any producing?" I was like, "Sure, Dean." I didn't really. And he gave me and he said, "I have the rights to the guy who kidnapped Frank Sinatra Jr." Dean Torrance of Jan and Dean loaned Barry Keenan the seed money to get this thing going. Barry Keenan was at his rock bottom, and what I love about this, not only is it a great true crime story that it has all the twists and turns, but no serial killers, nobody dies. But I say, no one quite gets out alive because, a lot of lives were sort of, tainted by this. I mean, poor Junior never really got a fair shot because, in the trial they made it sound like it was a publicity stunt. Anyway, this guy was at his worst bottom, and he turned on and he was sitting in his car, and on the radio came God and said, "Kidnap somebody if you want to get out of your issues."
Well, I think that, first of all, I think that is totally fascinating. I also think it's fascinating that you sat across from him and talked to them. And some people might think kidnapper, horrible human being, but you saw some kind of redemption there.
Well, this was in '63, so it was a long time ago, and he certainly redeemed himself. He's a big proponent of AA, and he worked a lot with prison reform, and he's a good man, who was. But here's the deal. I mean, it shines a light on mental illness. Back then, there was no talk of this. Swept under the carpet. His mom was mentally ill, tried to commit suicide many times when he was by the age of 7. The poor guy had a lot of bad breaks. But he went to uni high, and he was around all these, Jan and Dean and Ryan O'Neal, and all these young people that became very successful, and he didn't. He always wanted a seat at the big table, I think, and he was going to do anything to get it. And kidnapping Frank Sinatra Jr. was his road. It's a crazy story. It's the most brilliant story that hasn't really been told. I'm sure, a lot of people out there didn't even know Frank Sinatra Jr. Was kidnapped, and one reason was because Frank didn't want it out there. People, I mean, thank God. I mean, I love Frank Sinatra. God bless him. He's my favorite. But if he was alive today, I think I'd be hearing a knock on the door from Vinny Bomaganizzo saying, "Got it, Stamos, no podcast."
Well, this
is fascinating.
It's riveting, and it's funny. I don't think I've ever heard you on a podcast, but you so lean in when you're telling the story. It is so riveting. We want to let people know The Grand Scheme, Snatching Sinatra, premieres on July the 27th. Make sure you listen to it. It's wherever you get your podcasts. You can also binge the entire series today. If you subscribe to something called Wondery Plus.
Yeah, go ahead and subscribe to it. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you both. I'm so happy to see you both, and thank you very much.
Take care.
Ladies, you just finished John Stamos.
Yes.
What we've learned is, first of all, he's amazing. Second of all, he has the best hair in television.
He really does.
Did you see it?
Ever.
No. Ask Sid. Best
Sid,
hair.
isn't John Stamos' hair
Best hair ever.
But
No,
also,
he was fluffing it. I wanted to put my hands in it, get in.
You know what else I learned?
What?
He said he was like, sure, I produce. He didn't really produce, but now he's doing something cool.
No, hair.
I think it's cool that he leaned into something new, Hoda. I see past the hair.
Hair. Today in 30, how good was that? We hope you join us again tomorrow on Today. Chanel is going to introduce us to some members of the U.S. swim team who are ready to make their Olympic debuts.
Oh, have a great day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Today. Welcome to Today All Day. The next 30 minutes, you'll be hanging with me, and I have some of my favorite original videos just for you, full of inspiration and hope. So take a seat, get a tissue, come along for the ride as we hear words of wisdom from some of my favorite people.
I like to be around people of faith, people filled with joy, people that have big vision. That's one of the gifts you have. You're always, joyful and positive and expressive, and I think it's contagious, so I do think that's important.
One of the things I love about my Quoted By series is I get to sit down with people who I admire and hear what their sort of guiding light is. Pastor Joel Osteen is with me now. And Pastor Osteen, you lead, a flock of thousands and thousands of people. So I was thinking, I wonder what quote he will choose for the one that seems to be present to him right now. So what is the quote that you choose today?
The quote that I chose is from the scripture. It says, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue." And, it's important to me, Hoda, because I don't think we always realize that our words are setting the direction for our life. And how many times do we speak out negative things? I'll never get any good breaks. I'll never meet the right person. This pandemic's going to ruin my business. I believe we're speaking death into our future. So I think it's important to speak positive and to speak life over yourself, over your family, over your finances. And I don't mean that you're pie in the sky, but I believe there's nothing wrong with, instead of saying, how you doing? Well, I'm not feeling well. Hey, I'm blessed. I'm strong. I'm healthy. I think those words should be playing in our spirit and speaking them out as well.
It's so funny you say that, because I think a lot of people, there's a quote that says something like, you're the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose wisely. Isn't it funny how your group can become who you are? Sometimes if you hang around with someone who's negative all the time, all of a sudden you find yourself complaining too.
I know, it's so important, you got to pay attention, because you kind of draw that in, and I think sometimes, Hoda, it happens gradually and you don't realize it, and you become a negative or a complainer or jealous or just a limited vision. I think that's what's stopping a lot of people today. So I like to be around people of faith, people filled with joy, people that have big vision. That's one of the gifts you have. You're always, joyful and positive and expressive, and I think it's contagious. So I do think that's important.
Well, that makes me feel good. So you just made me feel good today, Pastor Osteen. Again, I'm just going to read your proverb quote one more time. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. That's Proverbs 18:21. Pastor Osteen, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Hoda. Great being with you.
Oh, you too.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
Al is in Cleveland for our Reopening America series.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready?
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now.
Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
Do you feel hopeful?
I do.
Yeah.
People have seen, people have changed in their hearts, and they're ready to move forward. So I am hopeful. I do see this as a reset button.
Welcome to Quoted By. I adore Vanessa Williams, but who doesn't? So I always wondered, I feel like someone like Vanessa, I always wondered, what would be her guiding light, her North Star when it came to a quote. So Vanessa, is there something right now that is sort of moving you?
absolutely right now, and I don't want to misquote it. It is from Say Their Names, which or Stand for Change, aka what our Black Theater United theme song is. And one of the quotes, which is the second verse, is, "We can curse the dark, or we can light the light. Start with just one spark and burn forever bright. Freedom has its price, justice, sacrifice, but our eyes are on the prize. So say their names, kneel down in righteous rage, and when you stand, take a stand for change." And it's all about this reset button now. We're all listening. We're all willing to move forward, be open, and make those changes of inclusion and belonging that have been kind of null and void, but also forgotten.
What was the breaking point for you, Vanessa? Where was the point where you said to yourself, that's it, like, I cannot sit here anymore?
I think witnessing the murder of George Floyd, I think we all collectively were at home. And then when I got it on my camera, my phone, when I first got it, I said, well, this is just going to be another unfortunate act of abuse. And then I said, I'm not actually going to see a death in front of me. And then when I saw it, I was numb for days, as the rest of the world. And that was when, and it was a cumulative effect, obviously, with all the deaths. And it was that turning point where something had to be said. And I'm a Black woman who had a Black father. My brother is Black. I raised a Black son. And the danger that we live in, which is unknowing for a lot of people. I mean, for instance, I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, affluent as well. But we make sure that the cops know who our sons are, so they know that this is a Black child that goes to the schools here and is a resident here. So please make sure that you don't see him as a suspect, but know that he is a community member. And that's the thing that you have to do as a Black mother that other people wouldn't even think about.
Wouldn't even imagine that. And just before we go, do you feel hopeful?
I do. Again, since, starting being one of the founding members of Black Theater United, we have seen so many people, so many allies ready to work and come up with solutions for inclusion. So people have changed in their hearts, and they're ready to move forward. So I am hopeful. I do see this as a reset button. Wow. Now it's time for change.
Well, this song, by the way, is a great song. I hope that people check it out. It's called Stand for Change. It's a beautiful song, and I know that you guys are raising money. It's all for a great cause. So Vanessa, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hoda. You're the best.
All right, you too.
Make the most of your day with
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready? Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes. This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now.
Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Our week-long journey begins here in Orlando, Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland. Our Across America journey, reporting on an America rebuilding and reimagining a future after the pandemic. Breaking news tonight, the ceasefire in the Middle East after 11 days of deadly violence. Richard Engel is on the ground. Do you think there's a connection between policing and racism? How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
I just feel like I'm dancing for so many people that weren't given the opportunities that I have, and so I understand my responsibility.
I'm so excited because I am sitting next to one of the premier dancers in the country, around the world, Misty Copeland. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to see you too.
I think when people see you, they think, wow, I bet you this kid was born and had everything kind of, not handed to her, but had everything top drawer. Let's talk about your quote, because I think this means a lot. You have two favorites. This is one of them. Where you come from doesn't necessarily determine where you're going in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think people would assume that someone comes from a privileged background, being a part of, such an elite art form. But that's what's so amazing, I think, having the opportunity to be a part of something where you just don't see people like myself being represented in that space. So it's really exciting when I can go to these communities that are similar to where I was raised and how I grew up, and just to give them an example of what's possible, that you don't have to fit into this mold in order to be whatever it is you want to be. And I've definitely come from that experience, growing up in a single parent home, one of 6 children. I was living in a motel when I started dancing, and so it's about what the arts can do for you and how it can enrich a child's life, no matter if they want to go on to be a professional or not. It's just so important, I think.
There's a Mr. Rogers quote, and I'm just thinking about it because he's been in the news a lot lately, and he says, for all of us, there's someone who loved us into being. So who loved you into being?
I have so many amazing fairy godmothers and brown women that have just been incredible mentors to me. Raven Wilkinson, who passed away last year, was a black ballerina, the first and only to dance in an all-white company at the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo in the 50s. Prince was such a big part of my growth and just discovering who I am as a woman and as an artist, but having representation, whether it be a woman or a man. I think that just having people that you can see yourself through and knowing that you don't have to follow someone else's journey or path, and that it's more incredible to be an individual.
Confidence is something, I don't know if you're born with it or if you get it, I'm not sure, but for you, how did you have the moxie?
I feel like everything that happened in my life up until I was 13 years old really prepared me to be a part of the ballet world in some weird way.
How?
I think that it's such a difficult world to be a part of. I mean, to get to where I am, you just have to have so much perseverance and will and drive and really love it, because the work it never ends. And so I feel like coming from, just always struggling and fighting, it was if I can get through that, I'm the ballet world, I'm good, I can handle this. So I'm so grateful for everything that I've experienced and that's made me into the person that I am.
How many times do little girls come up to you and say, wow, I want to be you? That's got to be so gratifying.
I mean, I think because I understand the bigger picture and that it's not me, it's what I represent. Even older black women that come to me and they're just you're living what I wish I could have done or had the opportunity to do. And it's I just feel I'm dancing for so many people that weren't given the opportunities that I have. And so I understand my responsibility and how I'm seen and viewed. So it's so amazing whenever I meet a little girl or I mentor. I actually had one of my mentees that I've been mentoring for almost 10 years now, and she's a woman. She came over last night, and it's just crazy to watch them grow up.
I mean, I know it's a privilege to do what you do, and I know it's a privilege to have people look up to you, but is it ever a lot on your shoulders to carry people's dreams?
No, I don't see it that way. I feel it's been such a long journey, and I think for a lot of people that don't know the ballet world and kind of just saw me come into the spotlight or whatever when I was promoted to principal dancer, and it's this has been a long journey of working to get here, and I don't feel that it's been okay, now you're here and you're gonna be a role model. It's been very organic.
I think if anything, whenever I've felt pressure, it's come from probably like outside, like media, where a lot of no dancer is put in a position where people are writing and talking about whether or not you're going to be promoted, and they're coming and critiquing like your first time approaching a massive role. Like that doesn't happen. Usually, like as a new principal dancer, you'll kind of be under the radar until you get more experience. But it was like my first Swan Lake was like everyone's there. Like, is she going to fail? Is it this? Does she deserve to be promoted? I think that was
terrifying.
The first time that I ever felt that type of like weight. But in terms of just, you know, it is what it is, and just being on the stage is doing so much for the next generation.
Your other quote, which I love too, is don't let other people's words define you.
That's a huge one. And again, for like this generation, especially like young people and social media and just like, you know, cyberbullying, and it's, people's words can be so powerful and impacting like your emotions and your confidence. And so I just often, I have to remind myself, but I often like am saying to these young kids that like these people that you don't know, like their words shouldn't impact you. You know, it's the people that care about you, that are supporting you. So it's just like to think simply about it when you get caught up in like what people might say about you.
Do you, I mean, I try not to pay attention when stuff happens, but I'm also a human being.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes I'll look and I'll get an ouch. Do you like have a suit of armor on? Like how do you stop it?
I don't look. Of course there are things that happen when like it just comes into your sphere and you can't avoid it. In Masterclass, which is coming out, which I'm so excited about, I definitely share a lot of those stories that I think are just as important as like learning about the technique of classical ballet. But as any athlete would know, it's about your emotional state. It's about, you know, taking care and like just being strong and being confident, because we're human beings and we're not often looked, you know, you're on stage and so people just kind of were like, all right, you have to be perfect every time like I come to see you. But I definitely have had situations where people have, you know, you're not supposed to film things in the theater, where people have filmed me and like posted it on YouTube, and you know, just horrible things like Misty Copeland failing, and for me, I try and, if I do see it and I think that it's an important topic to cover, I posted actually this horrible video of me on all of my social platforms and just started this topic of conversation about bullying and what you can learn from seeing those things, and that you don't always have to address it. But I think it's important too.
Let's talk about the Nutcracker. You're back. So excited. What made you decide?
Well, so the Nutcracker is like a part of every ballet dancer's world. Like that's, you know, I personally love it, and the version that American Ballet Theater does is not the traditional choreography. It's like a lot more like kind of whimsical and contemporary, but most dancers would be like, oh my god, Nutcracker, like you know, you do it every year, but it's the type of ballet that can bring people in from all types, different backgrounds, that, you know, it's just such a part of, especially in America, like the holiday tradition. And then having been in the Nutcracker in the Four Realms, the Disney movie that came out, it's just incredible to be a brown ballerina and be put in a position to represent ballet like in a Disney film. And I think that it's huge for, you know, just the future of ballet.
Are you happy?
I'm like, no, I'm miserable now. Yes.
Sometimes you never know. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You are traveling all over the world. You're holding it together. You have a great life. You're a shining role model, and I'm just happy I got to sit with you for a few minutes. Thank you, Misty.
Thanks for having me.
Don't move.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
Al is in Cleveland for our Reopening America series.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
What's meant to be will be, and it will always come at the right time, and so you just have to believe that.
Okay, it's my Quoted By series, and I know you love her. If you listen to country music like I do, she's a go-to on the country music circuit. Her name is Carly Pearce. Carly, it's great to see you. How are you?
So good to see you. I'm great.
Whenever I see someone like you who's a bright light, I always wonder, do they have some kind of guiding quote? Something they look at and say, yeah, like this is kind of my guiding light. What is your favorite quote?
Right now in this season in my life, I've really leaned into what's meant to be will always find a way.
And why do you say, as you lean into this is that poignant for you right now?
The past year and a half, I've had a lot of changes, and I think that in my personal life and in my professional life, my producer died of brain cancer. I went through a public divorce, and I think that in those moments, you have to just truly lean into your faith, and I'm a believer in God, and I genuinely believe that He works all things for our good, and what's meant to be will be, and it will always come at the right time, and so you just have to believe that.
I think a lot of people feel you. They may be going through something similar. They have that feeling of being on their knees and wonder, like, when will this storm pass? And I think, like all storms, they do eventually. You know, when you get up in the morning, is there something that you do that sort of readjusts you to get you set so you can tackle another day?
I have two things that I pretty much do every day. I am very into just starting my day with Bible study. So I'll do a devotional, or I'll just read a scripture that kind of sets the intention for the day. I feel like that always gets my mind right. And I'm a big runner, so I gotta go run it out and sweat it out.
Well, Carly, you're a delight. You are such a bright light, and I know that you've been going through a lot, and I'm just happy that you came and joined us today. And I think a lot of people will nod their heads and say, me too. And it's good to see you like that. Thank you, Carly. We can't wait till you come to the studio and sing for us again. We're waiting, okay?
Yes, I'll be there.
All right, Carly, thanks. If there's anybody who I think picks amazing quotes, either from your books or just when you come in the makeup room and you're like, oh my God, I've got one, it's you. So when I was trying to figure out what is your quote of quotes, I was dying to know what it was. One of the things I love is a good quote. Words of wisdom, of comfort, encouragement, words of inspiration, just small reminders to forge ahead or maybe to take a step back and reflect. A thought to keep life in perspective. So, what gets you through your day? This is the one you chose. Will you read it for us?
Yes, this is the one I chose. What lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us. And I love this because I think so many of us spend time worried or afraid of what's coming or what's going to happen and will we survive this or that or the other. And when I saw this quote by Emerson, it gave me a sense of relief. It made me feel like, okay, no matter what I've been through or what I'm going to go through, I can handle it because what's within me is way bigger than whatever's happened to me or whatever's coming at me.
And trying to get to that point in life doesn't come easy. I mean, when you think about your life and you think about times where you've been sweating, oh my gosh, am I gonna get the job? Am I going to make this work? You know, are my kids gonna be okay?
The list goes on.
Whatever it is, right. So how do you come to this kind of feeling, I guess?
Well, I think you have to go through some stuff.
Yeah.
I think we spend way too much of our time thinking we can't handle whatever's going to happen to us. We're afraid. I think fear is such a paralyzer. Like, I won't be able to handle that. I won't be able to handle whatever that is. And then this just kind of discovering this quote, everything is small compared to what lies within us.
And trying to find that power inside, because I think we don't think enough of ourselves. I don't think we think that.
We're constantly being told we're not enough of this, not enough of that, we're not smart enough, good enough, pretty enough, thin enough. And no wonder we think that whatever life is going to throw at us is going to knock us down. But I think if anybody really absorbs this quote and believes it, understands that whatever we've been through and whatever you're going to go through, it's small compared to the strength that's in you.
Well, what is that thing, do you think, that's inside of us?
Well, I look at it as divinity. I believe that all of us are divine, all of us are special, all of us are created for a purpose and for a calling and for a mission, and that we wouldn't be here if that were not the case, and that everything we need is here. It's not in the shoes we buy. It's not in the job we get. And I think you realize that when you get fired, or you know, a parent passes away, or you lose a marriage, or you lose a friend, and you think, like, how will I survive that? And then you do, and you notch up a couple of survival skills, and then you're like, wow, what's in me, I can handle what's gonna come.
You lost parents, a marriage, things like that. Did you doubt? Did you doubt that you'd make it?
Oh, yeah. I spent my whole life, my mother was sick kind of when I was young, all through my life, and I always thought and felt I would never survive without my mother. I couldn't even imagine my life without my mother. It's not like I like it or it was easy, but I've survived. At the end of my marriage, I thought, I can't survive, but I'm sitting here, right? I didn't think I could survive my kids leaving home or going off. I don't like it, but I've survived. And so I think liking it and surviving are two different things. I think we all beat ourselves up so much throughout our lives and in our lives. And what I like also about this quote is that, you know, what's in there is so amazing, so inspirational. We attribute it often to others and not to ourselves.
How so? Like,
well, we say, like, oh, look at her. She got through this, she got through that. Or people look at you and think, oh my God, she survived this and she did that and she's gone, well, I could never be like that. Well, you are like that. You know, you are.
I think that's true about comparing ourselves to other people, because it can be on a big level, like what you're describing, or it could be on something small. Like, oh my gosh, she's so much better than me. She looks so much better than I do. And even all those stupid little things.
They add up.
Yeah. And then you go home at the end of the day and you think to yourself, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I? And I think not comparing your life, yourself, to somebody else.
That's big. The less time you spend trying to be perfect, the less time you spend comparing. And I think kind of embracing what it is makes your life better.
You came to a lot of this wisdom, these conclusions, because you went through things. So I'm thinking, I haven't been through any of your stuff, but I wonder.
But you've been through your own stuff, and I haven't been through your stuff.
Okay, but can I get your lessons by reading them? Like, I always wonder, do I need to actually do the thing to feel
I hope you don't have to do some of the things that I've done, no. As I say to my kids, don't think stuff's not gonna happen to you. It happens to everybody. It's just gonna happen, no matter how freaking perfect you think you are, it's gonna happen. So, like, build your internal fortitude, get, you know, some faith in yourself, surround yourself with people, and you'll pass through. So I think everybody goes through something. I wonder, could I go through what you went through? Could I deal with what you deal with, right? So I think everybody has different stuff.
All right, so if you were gonna give advice, someone's reading this quote, and they want to live this life, like they nod their heads yes, but they feel like they're missing something. Just last thing.
Well, I don't know what they're missing, because what this quote says is that anything you think you're missing, you're wrong. It's within you. Anything you're attributing to anybody else, it's within you. You don't have to be afraid of failing. You don't have to be afraid of your dreams. You don't have to be afraid of, you know, telling that guy you're going out with who's not respecting you to beat it, because you've got what you need. And to believe in yourself, you can call that faith in yourself, you can call that faith in a higher power, but you've got it. And the sooner you know that in your life, I think the more wild and free and authentic your life will be.
Thank you, Maria.
Hey, Today All Day, we're bringing you a great Today Talks on this Monday and kicking it off, Carson's here with Pop Star. The Foo Fighters cover a popular 70s hit and a talented beatboxer is back in the spotlight, this time on America's Got Talent. Take a look.
Boy, it's been a long time since I've been able to say this. Time for the best part of the morning.
Yeah.
Pop Star.
We missed hearing that, Uncle Al. Thank you. We'll start with the Foo Fighters this morning. The soon-to-be Rock and Roll Hall of Famers just released a first look at their upcoming disco project. That's right, disco. The band will temporarily go by the name the DGs for a lineup of Bee Gees covers on their upcoming album titled Hail Satin. On Sunday, the band revealing a look at the DGs performance of You Should Be Dancing. It's got a good post-pandemic vibe, the disco thing. The album Hail Satin Side A, the DGs, is out this Saturday on July 17th. Next up, America's Got Talent. The show saw a familiar face on the audition stage in an episode that is set to air this week when the one and only Michael Winslow, a.k.a. Police Academy's Larvell Jones, brought back this special talent.
Wow. What are you in for? I'll show you.
Damn it, stop that! That's right. Winslow, known for his incredible beatboxing and sound effects, shared that he decided to step away from acting in order to raise his children following the passing of his wife. But this time away from the his time away from the spotlight, rather, doesn't seem to have dulled his skill set at all. Take a look at his audition here.
When I was growing up, I lived next to an active runway. My father was in the Air Force. So that meant every few seconds, best part about the radio, you know any part of the song. Doesn't matter where it is, you know that song. Rock and roll.
Wow. And you can catch the full episode of America's Got Talent tomorrow night, right here on NBC.
Coming up next, Jill Martin introduces us to two amazing female-owned businesses. That story and more on Today Talks.
Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
We are going to be cheering you on all the way.
Hoda is going to renew their vows right here. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
We've been watching Chanel bust a move all morning.
New meaning to the expression rise and shine.
Jenna, nearly 2 miles in the air.
Your Gampy would be so proud.
Oh, thank you, Al.
What should we watch for to find out whether this Geneva summit was worth it? What would it take for you to support this bipartisan infrastructure deal? What are the issues that the party stands for? That seems to be the missing piece here. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press. The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
It has been a long year.
Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like really confusing.
So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for? Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. Today on the third hour, Jill Martin gets the scoop on two small businesses, one selling jewelry and the other a boozy tea, both started by incredible women. Take a look.
Hope you had a great weekend. We know Dylan Dreyer had a pretty good weekend. She played in that American Century Championship out in Lake Tahoe, you might remember. But she teamed up with some huge celebs and athletes. And here's the thing, Dylan, she finished strong, too. Here's Dylan Dreyer on the 18th hole. More than 50 feet away. Yeah. She dropped it. She dropped that birdie putt. She's going to be back tomorrow, and she'll spill the tea on how well it went. With spoiler alert, last year she struggled a bit, struggled mightily. This year, markedly improved.
And I love that her husband was her caddy and her family was with her the whole way.
No pressure.
And the first pregnant. I mean, it was just awesome to watch.
And Roker, we saw you. You were one proud dad this weekend.
Yeah, proud dad and husband, because first on Saturday, Nick runs with this group called Achilles International. He took part in a relay from North Carolina all the way to New York City. He ran a leg along the West Side Highway, 2.5 miles, and just really, they had told him he had to slow down, actually. And then on Saturday, he and Deborah ran the Achilles International Hope and Possibilities 4-mile race, and he came in like a little more than 4 minutes ahead of his mom. I mean, he was booking.
Awesome.
But they both did a terrific job. There's Deborah finishing, and I was just there for moral support, and I was not running, but they did a great job. So all in all, not too bad. How about your weekend, Jill?
Well, I just have to say about Al and his family, they always show up.
Oh, yeah.
It's always like Al's there supporting, Deborah's running, everyone's there. I mean, awesome for Nick. So congratulations. My weekend. So I just started sort of getting out again. I have like a little anxiety. I haven't been going out that much. Yeah. And so this weekend I had my first really guest at the house. My friend from Miami, Lindsay, and Matt visited. And we went to this place on a barge and had lunch, and
there you are.
Yeah, super fun. You took about those.
Nice.
Sandy
I love
and
the
Trish.
hat, by the way.
Girls just want to have rum. Yeah, no hair and makeup necessary. And that's my friend Matt. And my brother and my sister-in-law actually got engaged and married during the pandemic, and now she's like
awesome.
my best friend. So we spent the weekend together, and it felt good to be normal again. It's kind of odd, you guys kept your schedules, but I was home, like getting out again and going to restaurants. I'm easing into it a little bit.
I know. Lots of folks are doing that.
What about you?
Birthday party. Every Saturday when you have small children, there's a birthday party. So I had there's Sibby. I took Sibby to a birthday party at a beach in our town. And for the first time, she decided to climb all the way to the top of some monkey bars. My wife wasn't there.
Wow.
So there was added pressure because Al, when the child is with you by yourself, you have to keep the child alive. Well, time for one of our favorite segments here, She Made It. And this morning, Jill shining a light on 2 female-founded businesses.
I'm really excited about these. First up, I want you to meet Trisha Okobo, who was caught between 2 careers and found a way to merge them effortlessly. Take a look.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. In college, I led a double life, studying engineering at Stanford during the day and enrolling in a fashion design program at night. After graduation, I worked in media and e-commerce in Silicon Valley. I loved the structure of engineering, but yearned for more creativity. Eventually, my passions fused with jewelry. In 2013, with no outside funding, Maison Mirror was born. It's a whole system of jewelry that you can mix and match to create your own signature look. Now, my double life is just my life. I get to be a jewelry architect, designing wearable sculptures and building blocks. And I get to make you the artist who puts it all together.
I love her story. And what I really love about it is I found this during the pandemic when I was, online shopping, subscription services. They're so elegant and classic, and you can layer them, and you really could get your ear cuff game going. Savannah's really big into that. And they say things like mama, and you could get a personalized, I'm wearing a J now, which is my name, my brother's name. So this is really great, and most of their pieces are under $50. So great to check it out and great to support small business. So next up, okay, Al, sorry you're not here for this one, but you'll taste these. 2 coworkers whose afternoon tea parties turned into so much more. Take a look.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Maria, and we're the founders of Owl's Brew.
We were working together at a marketing firm when I became obsessed with the immune-boosting powers of tea. I even got certified as a tea sommelier. We started making the most delicious tea-infused cocktails for office happy hours. and soon realized we were brewing up a business.
So in 2013, we quit our jobs to bring Owl's Brew to market. With our line of cocktail mixers available in over 1,000 stores like Publix and Whole Foods.
Last year, we launched our boozy teas with refreshing flavors like matcha chamomile and jasmine blueberry.
Within 1 year, we've sold over 1 million cans.
Owl's Brew is for those who want to drink wisely. Cheers to that.
Wow.
All right, so hard seltzers are out. Hard teas are in this summer, you guys. And for those who are looking for healthier and better options in our alcoholic beverages, Owl's Brew is such a great choice. They're low calorie, low sugar, super flavorful. Plus, you can drink them straight from the can or use them in cocktails too. Cheers. What do you think?
Here's what I love about it. They're not too sweet. You know, I hate a really sweet drink.
Oh, very nice.
And they're only 4.8% in terms of alcohol. So you can have like, 2 or 3 and not, end up
I don't know that that's the point.
Well, we're keeping the kids alive, and you can have 2 or 3 and not wind up on the floor, Al. That's what we're learning today. Cheers.
I'll save you a few, buddy. I'll save you a few.
Hi, I'm Craig Melvin. I'm going to have 12 hard teas. Anyway.
It's okay, because they're low in alcohol and calories.
2 great brands. Super proud to present them today. So, Al, cheers on that.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jill.
Coming up on Hoda and Jenna, we'll share some fun summer pictures of our families just ahead.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Will coronavirus come back next year?
So to help make sense of it all, we've created a newscast just for them. Man, you know a lot. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky. Cleveland. Reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic.
How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast. Free wherever you get your podcasts.
Talent and perseverance, inspiring America.
I've been preparing for a moment like this for my whole life. I have lots of songs and lots of stuff to share.
I want to show my daughter what it's like to overcome adversity.
So many reasons to cheer for that young lady.
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Welcome back. Today on Hoda and Jenna, Hoda and I share a few sweet family moments. Take a look. We were on vacation. How was it?
Oh my God, it was great. It was great. Yeah,
time?
we spent some time just with the girls doing like whatever you do in the summertime.
Look at that crew.
I have to tell you, that was the 4th of July. That
was
like
parade?
There was a parade. Everybody in that picture is connected to NBC in some way or another.
I know. Don't you love that?
That's Dylan Dreyer, Katie Ryan, and her mom Kathy. My former assistant Joanne Lamarca is there with her husband Tyler. Joel's there obviously, and Brian and all the kids. But anyway, it's like literally NBC is taking over that parade. But it was such a fun
I like that you just tried to use it. Was it so much fun?
It was so fun, and there was, you know what it was? The parade was 2 fire trucks. Some kids throwing candy off of something, and some kids like riding their bike. And just jumped in the parade.
You know, it's because we don't take things for granted, because last year there was no parade.
Right.
You know, we got to watch some fireworks far away.
Yeah, what'd you do for the 4th?
We did really nothing. I mean, we were hanging. There was a bike parade. And look, there they are dressed up for the bike parade.
My God. I am so shocked at
he's
seeing
a boy.
how.
He's a full-on human.
He looks like you.
And it was just so much fun to be together. And I dropped Mila at summer camp yesterday. And Hoda, it was like one of those things that I know anybody that's gone to camp has this moment. And my mom was like the type that was like, get on the bus and, you know. But I had this moment where she was like, don't cry, Mommy. And I said, I'm not going to cry. I had on my sunglasses. And there was something about it because it's the camp I went to as a little girl. So there was this nostalgia. And then also I got out of the car and she said, Mommy, I have sunscreen in my eyes. But I knew she didn't have sunscreen in her eyes. And it was just this feeling of like, she's old. How is she old?
She's going
and
to
have
camp
to go
on her
away
own.
from me for 3 weeks.
And my gosh.
You know, I know that so many parents have probably been dropping their kids.
And they're feeling that
and
feel.
they're feeling it. And I just can't believe that I'm the crybaby that had to wear sunglasses.
Is Mia looking? Is this her first year going?
It's her first year, and I'm just so proud of her because she barely knows anybody. She lives in New York City, so to go, you know, somewhere totally different and to be on a lake and to go swimming, like I just think there will be this feeling of freedom. And
so, how does she commute? Does she write letters? Is that what they do?
Yeah, she writes letters. I can write her emails. So of course, the second the email thing opened, and I had to like delete because I found myself saying, "I'm just missing you with all my heart," and I'm like, "Why am I so dramatic?" I'm putting my emotions on my 8-year-old child. It's causing years of therapy.
But by the way, we do that because Joel and I went away for a few days, and when I came home,
I know, was it great?
It was so great to be away, and it was so great to come home. And I was just saying, Haley, I thought about you all the time, and she was like, I thought about you more. I'm like, why am I doing? And we just kept doing it, one-upping each other, and it was
With
just
love.
the sweetest thing.
One-upping each other with love.
Can I tell you something crazy? Okay, you know the song "The Times of Your Life" by Paul Anka? I don't know if that's the exact words. Good morning, yesterday.
Wait, can you sing it?
Good morning, yesterday.
Yes.
So I play that because I like nostalgia in the house. Hope, who's 2, can sing that song with the words. It's nuts. It's nuts. But you realize when you watch your kid, you wake up and time has slipped away. I'm like, why am I playing that song in the house?
Speaking of Joanne LaMarca, who was in that picture, she always sings the song, You're Gonna Miss This.
You're gonna miss this, yeah.
And there was something about taking Mila to this camp I went to as a little girl with my best friend that I met as a little girl at camp. And I always told Mila the first year I didn't have any friends, but as soon as Farrell came, I had a friend. So to take her, and both of us were weeping. And then it was like, my poor child in the back seat was like, what is happening here? But to go back to a place that you loved as a little girl.
Yeah, by the way, that is magic.
It's magic.
I'm so glad you did. Was that a debate whether to do that, or did you know?
No,
you always knew. You always knew.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. The soccer game.
Oh my gosh.
I was dropping, so I didn't see it, but were you watching?
I was watching. I was watching the second half and then the penalty kicks. It was sick. Okay, so it was England versus Italy. We don't have to tell you. It went to penalty kicks, which you cannot believe that's how the Euro Cup
goes.
Goodbye, not you, Nadal. Okay, or who was that? Who was that? Oh, Djokovic, sorry. It's hard to keep track of all these great tennis stars. Okay. But anyway, it went
in overtime?
Oh my gosh. First it was overtime. Nobody scored. Okay. And then it was penalty kicks.
Right.
Nothing is scarier than penalty kicks. In the end, it came down that Italy ended up winning, but I FaceTimed my mom after.
Was she watching?
Yes, she wouldn't miss it. But it was hard to realize who won because no one stormed the field because Italy won. And it was like, Mom was like, is it over? Because you can't tell how many kicks they need. But anyway, it was a 19-year-old English player who had to take the last kick. He was only 19 years old, and it was really tough.
There were some heartbroken British fans, including 7-year-old Prince George.
I know.
Who was all dressed up in a suit.
Oh, I know.
I mean, if that was my kid, he'd be like, you made me wear a suit for this? But look, they look so sad, and I love how he's comforting him.
I know.
All I could think about was Ted Lasso. I know that's not what you're supposed to think about. Well, Ted Lasso's about soccer. So I was like, if Ted Lasso was there, he'd be giving them a really good speech.
He probably would.
Right? He'd be like, next year.
You know what? That would be good, though. That would be a good thing to hear.
Maybe
what would Ted Lasso do?
Ted Lasso, can you go ahead and say something for those British people?
I think that's a great idea. Okay. All right. So Sex and the City, that reboot that everyone's been talking about, it's actually happening.
Yes.
We don't.
And we didn't see any, like you'd think it'd be a trailer or something. It was just actually this picture right here, and it was captioned, and just like that.
So it's Miranda, Carey, and Charlotte. They're dressed to the nines. It's so New York because it just is. It just, everything about it is. The trash can, the whole thing. It's very New York.
But there is like a feeling, because that's like the, three amigos, and you're sort of like, wait, wasn't there a fourth?
I know, Samantha. What do you think she thinks?
I'm sure she feels a little sad or left out.
Kim Cattrall's not in it. She didn't want to be. So I mean, they, for whatever reason,
Okay.
I don't remember. But I think she said no thanks.
Okay, but obviously because there's somebody missing, it prompted a lot of memes.
Yeah.
For example, the ladies of Barb and Star.
Oh, Barb and Star. Go to Vista Del Mar.
They'd be good with them.
I like that.
Paddington Bear could have been in fourth.
Where's Paddington?
Oh, he's cute. An Old Navy ad.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay.
And what about Charlotte wearing Nicole Kidman's famous green coat? These are weird.
From Undoing. People are, you know what I realized online? People are really creative.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff you read, you just end up cracking
Laughing.
up, but brilliant. Like, who would think of that coat?
I'm not sure. But then evidently Today.com added a couple of big Sex and the City fans.
Oh, Jesus.
I actually liked that. I wanted to send it to people because maybe we could just do a cameo or something, right? We're not cool enough.
No, we are like the opposite of cool. They'll be like, no, you're not in our
But
reboot.
Sarah Jessica, if you need somebody to maybe, what could we do? We could be like the people letting them into a restaurant.
Yeah, or just people sitting at the table quietly eating
We
while
will be
they're...
extras. We don't even have to talk.
No, we won't talk.
No.
We'll just...
We could sip Cosmos.
Behind them.
Behind
There's
them.
got to be room for
Just
two
us.
people.
Okay.
It is time for Unscripted. Don't forget, we're on TikTok. So there's something, you know, everything is so trendy on TikTok.
Yes.
And Donna always introduces us
Thank
to what
goodness we have Donna.
I know. So we did a TikTok that is apparently, it's been posted on our TikTok page. And it's supposed to be something, it makes good dancers out of anybody.
It's good for us, right? For those of you that aren't good dancers,
Yeah,
try this
you'll
talk.
also wonder, what is this thing? But it's TikTok,
We don't really
so just
know.
watch.
Alone. Alone.
First of all, when Donna showed it to me, I was like, wait, is that it?
I know.
I liked it.
The creator of that, by the way, is Usim Mango on TikTok.
And I think follow Usam, follow us. I think he had tons of followers for that. That
But
was
it's
fun.
funny to do. I mean, they have different people. There was a girl who we saw who was pregnant who did it, and somebody else
so
who
cute.
did. All right.
Speaking of TikToks, the folks from Ritz Crackers recently explained to TikTok, explaining the ridges of these very famous crackers, what these ridges are for. And it turns out it's not just decorative.
It's not? Yeah.
We'll find out.
What people think the edges on Ritz Crackers are for. So pretty. Aesthetic. Beautiful scallops. What they're actually for. Cut. Cut. Cut.
Someone made that up. That cannot be true.
That's from the people of Ritz.
Was that from the people of Ritz, or was that some
Unfortunately,
lady?
I've already eaten some of this
Okay,
cheese.
let's cut. Does it
let's
really
try.
cut? No one's cutting
Yes,
with their
it does.
cracker.
Wait, I have too much
No,
cheeses.
it doesn't.
Yes, it does, Hoda. You're not trying it.
Okay, mine cracked. It does not work.
Excuse me, do you see this beautiful cheese cut?
Why don't you just rip it with your
Do
finger?
you see that? Because it's scalloped and lovely.
Okay, well, here.
No, thank you.
But is this, but by the way, I could eat a sleeve of Ritz crackers in 1 second. There's something about, right, when you don't even have to chew a Ritz. You
You
just
know
put
what
it
it
in
is?
and suck it.
It's the, I was about to say it's the butter. The suck it part kind of threw me off though. But it's the butter, right? It's the fact that you can suck it. Ew. Are you okay? What happened? I mean, look at Hoda's Ritz. Please look at this. Please take a look at what happened here. I don't know if that's you.
I was trying to cut it and it cracked.
Oh, it did. Well, anyway, I'm glad to know that this is how I'm going to cut my cheese from now on.
Oh, God.
Today Talks continues after the break with an exclusive chat you can only see here on Today All Day.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready?
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now. Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky. Cleveland. reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic. How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
What should we watch for to find out whether this Geneva summit was worth it? What would it take for you to support this bipartisan infrastructure deal? What are the issues that the party stands for? That seems to be the missing piece here. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
We are going to be cheering you on all the way.
Oda is going to renew their vows right here. Cheers to you. Cheers. We've been watching Chanel bust a move all morning.
New meaning to the expression rise and shine.
Jenna, nearly 2 miles in the air. This is amazing! Yes!
Your Gampy would be so proud.
Oh, thank you, Al.
Welcome back to Today Talks and our exclusive content you can only see here on Today All Day.
By the way, I think even in the summertime, since we both took a little pause, I think it's good to hit the pause button, don't you? Take like a few days if you can.
Did you have a good time just relaxing or not really?
I have to say, I did, and it was one of the first times. And I think having the like mommy daddy time is important.
Yes.
And I think it always gets backburnered just because of life and things and needs and all that
well,
stuff.
It's so funny because somebody said this when I first had a baby.
Yeah.
And it's true that family vacations aren't really a vacation for the mom.
Yeah.
And so to go and do something with just the two of you must have felt like a major reset.
It really did. And there's a funny part of you, because I woke up before sunrise every day because I couldn't not. And you immediately think, like, what are the kids doing? What are the kids doing? What are the kids doing? Because it was just a couple days, but it was enough that made you think that. So it takes like work to say, okay, let me
choose this.
Yes, and I want to enjoy this moment. Oh, by the way, I read your book, Malibu Rising.
Oh, did you?
I read it. I read it on vacation.
Did you
I
like
read it in a day and a half.
Didn't you love it?
3 people at the place where we were like, I read that. I'm like, because I'm friends with Jenna. I know, because I got the book. Okay, it has her sticker on it.
But that was the best beach read.
I read it in a day. I was just like, I couldn't stop. It was so juicy. You were right. Now I have to read all the other ones.
I know, there's more, right? Hell of a Book is the last one.
What is that one about?
It's so good, and it's
one?
kind of hard to explain, but it's about a author on tour, and he's flashing, it has dual stories. So they're also at the same time, it's a childhood story, and it's flashing back, and you can't tell if the author is this child or not. It's brilliant.
How do you pick? Like, I was thinking, all your books are great picks. So, like, what do you, just give me a little insight in the...
all the time.
So you just read books. Do you ever get, like, recommendations? Try this one, do friends say?
Yes, friends, writers give recommendations, but I have to tell you, I was on a flight home last night, and I was supposed to be reading, but a friend, you had recommended a story called Sex.
No,
a show.
No, it wasn't Sex. It was called Lovesick.
You called it Sex
No, I
Ed to me.
No, I did
yes,
not.
Yes, you did.
No, I called it Lovesick because that's what it's called.
You called it Sex Ed, I swear.
Sex Ed?
Well, I thought she did, and unfortunately, somebody else who will remain nameless recommended a show called Sex Life on Netflix.
What?
And I downloaded it because I wanted just something
to watch on a plane.
I wanted to not have to read. Like, I wanted a vacation from my work.
What was it?
Wow.
Was it total porn? Was it porn?
Yes. And the woman sitting next to me was reading like a beautiful book, and I was like,
hiding. But you kept watching. You kept watching.
I couldn't
you
help
had
it.
to. Was it good?
But I felt so embarrassed. I mean, it's like reading 50 Shades of Grey, except for it's on the screen.
And people can see it, and especially the people behind you.
I feel like when you recommend a show, and I know I'm not blaming it on you.
I would never.
You said Sex Ed.
No, I did
yes,
not.
You
I don't
did.
even know what that is.
Well, it's not a show.
It used to be something we took in high school.
Do you still like Lovesick?
Yeah. Well, Lovesick starts off yucky,
I know,
when you started.
So I thought it was the same show because of your premise.
Well, the premise is that a guy. I have to say, he goes to the doctor. He's probably in his 30s, and he finds out that he has an STD, and he has to go tell everybody who he's ever slept with that he had that. So each story is a vignette about their love story.
That's why I thought it was the same, because this story is about a woman who has children but keeps thinking about her ex-boyfriend, and it is highly inappropriate to watch on an airplane. Okay,
Wait, I like how you qualified.
Well,
on an
if you're in your privacy of your own home, do what you want.
Yes. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you for this episode of Today Talks. Keep watching for more of Today All Day.
guys, let's raise a glass.
Yes.
To
We're
what,
back to each
SG?
other.
To summer.
To all of us.
To us?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
to us.
To being back.
Yeah.
Wait, Carson, I didn't get a tap.
To 1 foot
Tap
away.
that.
To being together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheers.
No mask. No mask. No mask.
I can hear you.
Oh, that's yummy.
Remember
Ow.
last summer? Oh,
choice.
you
What
like the
if-
Aperol Spritz?
This is a brilliant choice. I'm
It's
glad
summer,
I copied you.
Summer in a glass.
Summer in a
I
glass.
remember having too many roses.
Okay.
How about when they put our chairs so close together at work?
Yeah.
I remember.
That was it.
I mean, that was a glaring moment.
Yeah.
Because we're all
knew
there every
things-
morning.
I knew things were better when I could sit on your lap.
Yeah.
By the way,
When they let us sit next to each other.
I've always said that.
we've been inching our chairs closer together. I don't think we realized when we were spread that far apart how weird it was, right? And all of a sudden, once we started moving closer, we were like, look at us, we're on top of each other.
Right.
But then it's like nothing's
normal.
changed.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at the monitor and going, oh, wow.
So
This
close.
is the way it used to be.
Right.
We're close again.
But Carson, you were kind of nervous.
You were.
It was just fast. It was
Yeah.
like for so long you go giving that ATM space everywhere you go to people out of respect, and then all of a sudden we're just so close, and it took a minute for me to get used to it.
You were still wearing your mask on set.
Well, 'cause
longer than-
on The Voice, there's different rules still in society at various workplaces, and so The Voice has a different set of rules than Today's Show. That's true. So I was wearing a mask. I didn't.
Remember when we were all in the studio together? When we all finally got in the studio together? I thought that was one of those moments. I don't care how spread out we were.
It was the week
It
before
was
Labor
cool.
Day.
Was that the week we finally?
Well, hold on. Let's back up. When we all first got together in the backyard,
yes.
Yeah.
just seeing each other
Right.
was a win in that moment, right?
Physically.
Forget that we were 6 feet apart.
Right.
So to get to this point
Right.
is
Look
like
at us,
a
cozied
home
up.
run.
I know.
It
Right?
was emotional when we all got together again. Sorry, Mom said don't talk.
No, that's okay. It's
okay.
It's all right.
We won't
No,
talk.
it was
Came to the wrong place.
I'll tell you, outside the workspace, your daughter's wedding. And folks were sweating and dancing and singing and hugging. like
everybody
all-
was vaccinated.
Yes.
And having you guys there was meant the world. And it was. We heard from more and more people. Hey, wow, what a great! It was like a coming out party.
It was.
You know, and it was really terrific. And I was happy to pay for it.
Was it expensive coming out?
Just
Well,
before
what
that
the-
wedding, the New York Islanders were in the playoffs, and they had just opened up their place. So I went to that game, and that was 21,000 people in the barn screaming at a big time sporting event. That felt like, oh my gosh, we are back.
I think it's starting to feel that way. I felt that way at the gymnastics trials. It was weird, man. You sat there, and I actually think a lot of the girls were a little nervous because of that.
Yeah.
They were so used to practicing in a vacuum, and suddenly they're in a stadium full of people. But it did feel like old times, and also just reminded you like what you're missing.
And over this last week, just spontaneously, people have been showing up at the windows.
Yes.
Yes.
More people.
More people.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot
every
of
day.
people.
With signs,
and
like
going,
the real
going
thing.
out and fist bumping people, and just it's like.
Well, the wedding we
taking
did that
pictures.
Hoda officiated the other day, that time we spent working on the plaza felt like the old days.
Yeah, that was the first time that we were actually interacting, standing outside.
You know, and that was the other thing. We
What?
came here last week with our family, and it was like it felt like no time had passed. We were here.
Here at
Anthony was
Stratos?
helping us. The place was packed. Everybody was having a good time. It felt so good.
Let me ask
Just
you.
walking into a store and not having to wear a mask, I almost feel guilty. Like I say, should I wear a mask? And they
Right.
say, well, if you're vaccinated, you don't have
You
to.
don't
And
have
I'm
to.
like, I'm vaccinated. I'll just wear my mask anyway.
Right.
I can't, it's hard to make
hard.
that transition. It's not like turning off a
Right.
light.
I agree. It
That's
takes
what-
some-
yeah. I mean, you had yours on today.
Yeah, I'm just still trained, and I we've all worn our masks for so long out of respect for other people.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I don't want to walk in a place all of a sudden without a mask with this bravado of like, I'm double vaxxed and I'm the man and I'm out of respect for somebody else. It's hard to break that.
Our week-long journey begins here in Orlando, Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland. Our Across America journey reporting on an America rebuilding and reimagining a future after the pandemic. Breaking news tonight, the ceasefire in the Middle East after 11 days of deadly violence. Richard Engel is on the ground.
Do you think there's a connection between policing and racism? How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
Make the most of your day with
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show.
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
exclusive interviews,
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
and important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press. The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
So one of the other big changes, and we were thinking about this. I remember we were talking about a year ago from right now, when there was occasionally a nurse walking by. That's all you saw outside.
Oh yeah.
That was it.
That was
not
it.
even
Or
not
construction
even
worker.
That was it. There was nobody else.
There was a time when it was just you and our camera operator Mason, and no one else. In the studio.
Nobody was there. And then you fast forward to like that kind of eerie, weird feeling of. And my first words I think I ever uttered every morning were the two of us. That was the first conversation you ever had. Was that one. But fast forward to now, you guys. We look outside.
Yeah.
Coldplay was on the plaza. We had her on the plaza. We're going to have more people on the plaza.
Tourists are walking by.
Tourists are walking
That's
by.
what I all of a sudden looking out while you guys are doing the news and stuff, and looking out and seeing people just strolling on 50th Street.
Without masks off.
It's funny. It's like I don't think we'll take these things for granted anymore. Seeing people who come to the plaza or having music out there, or even the people that we work with when they started adding back our camera operators. The sound guys, the floor directors,
hair.
the props folks. Yeah, hair and makeup. Let's just light a candle.
Some of us
Raise
don't
the
worry
glass.
about that.
Hair and makeup.
Hair and makeup.
And everybody said amen.
Amen.
When are they going to bring the teleprompter back to the studio?
Yeah.
Most important thing.
Jenny is back.
Yeah, she's back.
Okay,
She's in the studio.
That's why Pop Star was
The
so
other thing that
smooth.
was so amazing to me was how quickly you forgot how quickly it went away. I mean, like you and I were the first ones out. You know, and
right.
it was like, wait, what?
Right, lights out.
Okay, 2 weeks. Oh no, wait, not so fast. But it was amazing how quickly it all shut down.
Yeah.
It's taking a little while to come back, but it's worth it.
It was also amazing how quickly everyone adjusted. Like in terms of our workplace, folks like the crews, like setting up those home studios,
Our technical staff,
like without really, didn't miss a beat at all.
I remember after 9/11 when I was at MTV in Midtown, we were contemplating, are we going to do another show the next day? And quickly it was decided we couldn't because the bridges and tunnels were closed, and we couldn't get a crew to Times Square. We couldn't get a camera guy.
Wow.
And during this pandemic, NBC News was incredible how quickly we were up running, because people need information. And in our business, no matter what's happening in the world at any cost, there are those outside of the people that you see on TV that truly make it happen.
I mean, it was pretty shocking. And I think, you could argue that we got a lot more interviews, a lot of people who wouldn't have normally been on this show because we could get them through Zoom. And all of a sudden you realize that you can have good conversations with people all across the country quickly without flying them in, without all those things. But
that was actually one of my most favorite parts of the pandemic. Like Hugh Jackman's like, oh wow, he lives like us.
Yeah.
Behind him.
Oh yeah.
The backgrounds were a big. That
Oh
was
yeah,
a
everybody.
fun part of the
Zoom
day.
rooms.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
people looking. Oh, look what's there. Room Raider was that.
Room Raider, or how about the ring light that makes your wrinkles disappear? Like you put
I
that
discovered
ring
that
light
way
over.
too late in the pandemic.
I just got one last week. I'm so mad.
But if you wear
Where's this
glasses-
God light been my whole
Where
life?
has it been? Oh.
I love, but that is the one part because I'm an AV nerd, and I loved playing, and every day we had stuff coming in from B&H, from different audio visual places. Like, look at this!
Love that.
I loved it. Okay, I got a 60-inch monitor.
Right.
I got
You were one
this.
of the
I
first
got that.
ones, Al, who had it going on. I mean, you literally had
He was
all
in-
your
he was in his
gadgets.
garage. Remember
In your garage. You had an iPad. You had
Then he got
all
kicked out of the garage.
gadgets.
Yeah.
Then he was in the kitchen. He got
Right.
kicked out of the kitchen.
I was pleased when you stopped wearing the Oswego shirts every day though, because for a while.
I think Deborah.
Yeah, well, Deborah, between Deborah and Craig, it was like,
Yeah.
you got to step this up.
Yeah,
It's-
and then you went to the zippy hoodie,
Yeah.
the zippy thing, and then you
I went to the
graduated-
half zip.
Half zip.
Went to the half zip.
And then you
Went
graduated.
to the half zip.
Yeah.
But now we get to see you in seersucker, full pocket square.
Glasses.
With the,
You know what I do
pocket
miss?
watch.
You know what I
day
do
is-
miss?
What?
I do miss seeing Vale and Charlie.
Oh,
That I have to say, watching them pop up, literally, it was like so calming, and it felt so at home. I still remember just like
Calming
watching
for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, excuse me, Mr. Defense Secretary. Get out of here.
Right.
I don't know how you pulled that off, but even just at that 6:30 tease, they all were clamoring to get on, and I remember thinking how that's like the coolest, calmest
Little
thing in the
kids
world.
with bedhead.
Don't forget about her live-in tech as well.
Felding.
Felding was amazing.
Felding.
It was on headset.
Our operations manager.
You and Mike, my husband could be like in a relationship
Yeah.
because of the AV. Like he loved that tech stuff so much. It made all his dreams come true. He would dial in every morning, set his alarm, and
I
get us
remember
ready.
listening. You were doing. There was some problem with the mic, and he's troubleshooting.
Oh my God!
He was
I'd never
into
seen.
it.
Oh, he's so into it.
Yeah.
And by the way, the graphics department.
Jack Daly.
Jack Daly.
Jack had a little more.
Jack needs an agent. I mean, we get stopped now, and people
What?
are like, "Yo, you're the kid that holds the sign." Like
Are you
the
serious?
People just
Where they recognize the arms.
That started out of a necessity. Yeah, he's like, "Look, it's me. That's me." It started out of necessity because once Field Ops came and put the studio in the house, I actually needed help.
Yeah.
Because, we have a newborn in the house with 4 children.
Yeah.
So I was, commissioning help for my children, and Jackson did it every single
How
day.
did it feel, Carson, when you came back to the studio?
It felt great.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but I started to harbor a little bit of guilt. I mean, I love my kids so much. I thought and I felt bad because it came at the cost of a pandemic where people are losing their lives.
Sure.
But I was so selfishly happy to be home with my kids
Yeah.
because I travel so much and I
Yeah.
never get a chance to see them. I thought, God, I
Yeah.
could work from home.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm done at 9:01,
Yeah.
I'm in my bathing suit already and my nice supper, and I'm going to
Yeah.
play with the kids. And
Yeah.
I loved that part. But after a while, the professional in me wanted to be in a studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't move to New York to stay at home and work from home.
Right,
I moved to
right.
be with my colleagues, to be in the environment
Yeah.
that excites me and that we're lucky enough to get to do every day. So going back to see you guys and going back to doing the job was really important.
Yeah.
It was fulfilling again. Being home's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Only for a finite amount of
yeah.
time.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
Al is in Cleveland for our Reopening America series.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
It has been a long year.
Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like really confusing.
So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for? Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Make the most of your day with Today All Day. Get closer to all your friends at Today in a whole new way.
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
In a mere 30 minutes.
Shop today with Jill Martin.
We're helping you shop like never before.
The latest styles and biggest names. Today Food.
Things are heating up in the Today All Day kitchen.
Cooking essentials and recipe inspiration.
Get ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Only on Today All Day.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
How are your kids? How did Dell and Sibby do?
Dell and Sibby, again, from the very beginning, I was so impressed with how quickly they adapted, and they've done the same on the back end. Like they've,
Plus, your wife was a superstar.
Oh, my wife
she gets props.
Lindsay was
Those jokes
amazing.
every day online.
Still going.
Still
And
going.
the prayer section.
The prayer section every morning to start school. No, she was. We would not have probably gotten through the pandemic had it not been for my wife.
Well,
that's not hyperbole.
And she got COVID, right?
She did. She had COVID.
Go through that too.
And let me tell you, like we took it, we obviously took it very seriously. So we had to sequester her in the room, and it was me and the kids for 2 weeks.
Siri got a false positive during this whole thing, and for 24 hours until it came back and they had reversed it, it went to a lab. It was a whole thing. There was a period where I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh God.
She's sequestered in a room, and I have all 4 kids. Like, wow. How do I do this?
right.
And then you're immediately a close contact.
Yes.
Just by vis-a-vis your wife.
Sure. Yes.
So technically, you're not supposed to be. Like, I was on the phone with the doctor. Who's going to raise my children?
Let's
bring some wolves over.
You did that.
Yeah.
Grace of God.
Yeah.
Mr. Mom, Michael Keaton.
Well, Lindsay was parenting by phone too.
Yeah.
Like she was able to FaceTime and tell the kids to not do stuff. So. The kids have adapted well. How about yours?
Same. Like, it's just so funny now how they look back at pictures and wonder why we didn't have a mask on before. And we still worry about our kids. They're not vaccinated. They're little and they're running around. But to see them in school with the plexiglass and doing the tasks, and they did it every day. They were in the park with masks on. I was shocked. Hope was too little to wear a mask, which kind of made me feel good because I didn't want to have her all strapped up. But Haley got so used to it. And now we leave and she's like, Mom, do you have your phone? Do you have a mask? And
right.
That's what they say.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's incredible how they roll
adapt.
with it. They get used to the mask. The day the CDC said, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear the mask outdoors. I picked up Vale at the bus stop with no mask. She comes down the bus stops with her mask and she's like, Mom, where's your mask? Put it on. She was like, she's got a job at the CDC waiting.
There you go.
You know, but it's just like they roll with it. They adapt to it.
I felt guilty almost in a way for all of you guys in that I just had Nick at home. You know, and the time was 18, and he was loving it because he'd take his laptop and I said, "Where are you going?" He goes, "I'm changing class." And he was going from room to room.
Oh, that's what he did.
What he did. But it was great. I was like, after I finished the show, I would call Craig. I'm out on the lake. I'm sitting by a pool.
Living his best life.
It was.
Did Nick adapt to the mask and the rest of it?
Well, what was interesting is, especially for kids who have some special needs, in a way, this was somewhat helpful because a lot of these kids are not overly social. And so they could be social over Zoom, over their computer. And I was, I had to take him with me on a trip, and he was in school in the car, and I'm listening to him, how engaged he was with his teacher, with his classmates, and he really adapted. He loved it. He ended up with an A average for the year.
Did he really?
Wow, good for him.
We're moving, and day before yesterday, we were going through some papers, and at the beginning of the pandemic, it was suggested that you have kids write letters to, sort of cope with how they're feeling, and Dell wrote a letter. And he said, I forget who it was to, but he said, "Dear blah, 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 please make the pandemic go away. Please have people stop dying. Please have people stop getting sick." And we were moving, and Lindsay and I read the letter, because we hadn't seen it since then, and just, puddles. Because we've started to forget, just a year ago, like how scary it was for kids especially.
Well, I think that, NBC did that nightly news for kids.
Yes.
That Lester did. And it was really sort of born out of the idea that the information is so hard for kids to process that they would give a show for them coming from NBC. And Jackson, was a correspondent for the year. By the way. And that was really, I think, was really cool. And he had a project where he had to write a letter, and he wrote a letter to President Biden, and Biden wrote him back.
That's right.
Wow.
What was the letter?
The letter was about, and he wrote it, and then we sent it. He put it in mailbox, and then President Biden wrote him back just after being elected. And Jackson had written about, requesting some help with racial injustice and with mask wearing for the pandemic, and it was really incredible. So in our house, we had this letter that Jackson wrote, and the response from the president.
That's amazing.
Jackson spoke at commencement,
Wait, what?
Yeah, he graduated and
he spoke.
He spoke.
He was a
speaker.
speaker.
What did he say?
He just talked about thanking the administrators. I mean, one of the things during school Zoom that stuck out for me was a lot of our teachers. They have kids our kids' age.
Yep.
And as hard as we found it, I kept saying to Siri, I'm like, look, we have to just put this in check. Think about this teacher.
Yes.
She's got this situation in her home, and she's teaching all. So let's, shout out to not only first responders, but to the teachers.
Who are first responders?
He basically was thanking the administrators for making a year even possible.
Jackson does. He needs an agent.
Yeah, Jackson's so mature.
Yeah. No,
Sign him.
Sign him up.
Yeah.
I think we got lucky that the pandemic, by and large, the kids in this country did pretty well, or globally actually did pretty well. If you think about had this COVID-19 strain been really rough on children, this really would have been a lot worse.
Story,
But emotionally, I think.
Edit that out, Jen. That's too.
A lot of them are struggling, but they're hopefully coming back.
Yeah, they're doing good though.
Yeah.
week-long journey begins here in Orlando, Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland. Our Across America journey reporting on an America rebuilding and reimagining a future after the pandemic. Breaking news tonight, the ceasefire in the Middle East after 11 days of deadly violence. Richard Engel is on the ground.
Do you think there's a connection between policing and racism? How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
I'm rolling up my sleeves for science, so I'll survive if I contract this virus. For family dinners, family vacations, family anything. For traveling somewhere beyond my living room. And for the Rebels, there is no greater feeling than being in the stadium and cheering on Ole Miss. And now it's your turn. Roll up your sleeves, America. Plan your vaccine, because every shot counts. Visit planyourvaccine.com and make your plan.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
I've got one that just came to mind.
Tell us.
When we went down a few months ago to North Charleston to profile this principal who during the pandemic decided that he was going to pick up a second job at
That was
Walmart.
amazing, that story, by the way.
Oh, I love that guy.
That guy was incredible.
Well, he's, Mr. Darby, and was one of these guys, could not have been more unassuming, and was just, he was like, oh, shucks, why are you guys here? I took this job because my kids at the school, they just needed school supplies, and the parents, a lot of them had got laid off, and the guy just stepped up, and even when we went to talk to him, like, he was just so surprised that we were there. Like, it was just so, it's like, this is what I do, this is what we do. Yeah. We take care of each other. That was probably a highlight. And I think it was probably more of a highlight because we had spent so many months covering death and despair.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Your gym, I mean, the time that, I felt like the other day when you were hanging out with the gymnast, I was like, we're back, baby.
I did love that. I mean, that did make me feel like we were back 100% because, I felt it. But probably overall, like if I were thinking back, there was one guy who was a patient and he decided that he was going to write a letter to every single person who helped him in this.
Oh, that was good too.
And he read it, and we surprised him by having all the people pop on. But I think because once you get out, you think, I dodged a bullet, and you go home. Think about any time you've been in the hospital for something.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you revisit and you say thank you? But to be able to do it face to face and to watch, a lot of these doctors and nurses were crying because they needed that attaboy, that attagirl. And I remember thinking a thank you, a little thing like a thank you meant a lot, as you know, because that's what you do. Well,
look,
does.
I got to go to one of the food banks in Connecticut, and it reminded you that how close people are living to the edge, because there were a lot of nice cars driving up, but people, when it comes down to it, needed help. But if it wasn't for those volunteers who run these food banks, a lot of folks would have gone hungry. And seeing people it was the dead of winter. It was freezing and cold, and people were out with kids in the car. And these folks who were helping, they had an assembly line going, getting food into people's cars. And that was kind of like, it restores your faith in humanity.
SG, what do you?
I mean, it's sad, but I can't get out of my mind the doctor who was a frontline worker and an emergency room physician and had the whole world. She had everything in front of her and she took her own life, because the stress of the pandemic. And it's a sad story, but it's also a story that really inspires because her sister and her brother-in-law have picked up her story and they are doing incredible work to focus attention on the mental health of frontline workers. And that needs to be said, that work needs to be done. And so they have taken this painful episode and it has galvanized them and they are really making a difference. And I think, we look at it, okay, the pandemic, let's hope, is in our past in this country, mostly. We've got to remember our frontline workers, and some of those pains and some of those memories are going to be with them a long time, so we need to remember them. And that, for me, that story and that cause has stuck with me.
Carson, you spent a lot of time over the past year highlighting,
mental health.
Yeah, I think mental health took became a prominent part of the discussion of society in the last year during the pandemic, which was a good thing because nobody's talking about it, and I was able to do that through my own situation. But I think going back to what Savannah was saying, also for me back March, we were having a baby. And part of my anxiety, in general, my anxiety disorder, is that I can't control my nervous system. I run hot, like my adrenal system kind of like a Ferrari. And so I spend every day of my life trying to check and balance how I'm gonna drive that Ferrari, and sometimes it's easier to control than others. At the height of the pandemic and then expecting to have a baby, my nerves were just exacerbated, as were so many millions of people going through similar situations. So, seeing the nurses in the hospital, dropping my wife off alone, pregnant, with masks on, and we were so scared. We didn't know what was what you could touch. This was new in the pandemic. Yeah. And then meeting the nurses when Goldie was born and realizing that these people, I want to go and retreat and hide in my home because I'm so nervous because I have this mental health situation. I want to hide like a little boy, yet there are people in society who, like firefighters, don't run away from the fire, they run into it. And we were, we got a chance to re-meet these incredible heroic folks, in the health sector, who went in and saved people's lives and had to act like their fathers or their brothers or their sisters and hold their hands. They had to do so much work behind closed doors. I think even today, we don't realize what the nurses and doctors really did. Because no one was allowed in the hospital. Right. I think by having a baby through that process, I had that window into the healthcare system, and it was just remarkable.
Celebration.
Oh, yes.
Celebration.
The roaring 20s, baby.
Yes. Your mom is back.
Yes.
Your tita.
Yes.
Your in-laws and
my parents.
your folks, and by the way, God bless you for shining a light on alcoholism and addiction with your dad, with the book. Yeah. It's just, I think everybody's coming out and just feeling good. Like, we've come through something, and we're still going through it. But by God, thanks to a whole lot of people, we're able to live like America.
Yeah, talk about appreciating things you never even thought twice about in your life.
Right.
Like walking to the store with your kid without a mask on, or going to the beach, or getting in the car, getting on a plane, like stuff.
Going to the grocery store
like this,
right?
With your
having a meal out.
Yeah.
Being able to close talk.
Yeah.
Hug. And hug.
Like needing breath mints again.
Yes. There you go.
I stock in Altoids. It's got to go up.
I did we do these things before the show where we talk to our different stations, and I knew Hodo and I were going to be doing something. I actually used mouthwash.
Oh, thank God. Thank
Hodo went,
God.
wow, you smell minty fresh.
Minty fresh.
Kind of makes you wonder what he'd been doing for the previous
Well,
We all let ourselves go.
Yes.
Just a bit.
But we're back, baby.
Woo! We're back.
Cheers to being back.
Cheers.
I've got nothing left.
And to the
Once
discovery
again,
of the Aperol Spritz.
I drank the most. Welcome to Today All Day.
All day?
Today, all day. All day.
This is a long way of asking who's your favorite character you've ever played? The unicorn. The unicorn. You gotta have the unicorn.
What is she right there? That's why you're saying all these nice things? Yeah, she gave me the look. Sorry to disturb your day. Everyone's mad at you, Willie.
Better make this fast. I don't want the wrath of Luna.
When I see you, I always think, I wonder what his quote would be.
Give us 6 minutes and we'll ask as many questions as we can.
Welcome to Cold Cuts. Cold Cut. Cold Cut.
My buddy Cal cooking with me.
Dads don't babysit. It's called parenting.
What was the first book you remember loving?
Heart Smart Today with simple exercises to strengthen your heart.
Make the most of your beach days.
It's all about the tracksuit now. How good do they look?
I now pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss the bride.
This morning, a story of people helping people.
You've received tons of letters from people who have been inspired.
Let's do the weather out. Okay. All you gotta do is say, it's cold, it's warm, it's raining, it's snowing. That's it.
One of our most favorite franchises ever, Ambush Makeovers.
Okay.
Look at it. It doesn't look so good.
No, it doesn't look good.
Will you judge us in a cook-off?
I will, and you guys will definitely win something.
Today, all day.
All day?
All day.
Welcome to Today All Day.
Hey, Today All Day. Next on Saucy, Anthony Contrino is whipping up 3 dishes any true lover of Italian food should never live without. First up, he's making a classic creamy risotto. Then it's a super easy red sauce. And finally, an irresistibly crispy arancini. Oh, this rice is nice.
I love risotto. It can be a bit time-consuming to make, but it's actually quite easy and it always impresses. You can make risotto even tastier by deep frying it. I like to transform it into one of Sicily's most popular street foods, arancini. These OG rice bowls can be found pretty much everywhere in the region where my gram comes from, Palermo. Today, I'm making a classic creamy risotto. I'll use the leftovers to make my irresistible arancini that I love to serve over my no-fail everyday tomato sauce. For cocktail hour, it's another taste of Sicily. My blood orange and white wine coolers that are sure to be the hit at your next summer party. Risotto is something that I think that everyone should learn how to make. And it's a technique that's quite simple to master. Now, you can add any flavor that you'd like to it. Mushrooms are super traditional. I like to fold in some roasted butternut squash in the fall, a fresh zesting of lemon for a delicious risotto al limone, or if you're feeling super bougie, you can shave some fresh black or white truffle on top. I like to keep it simple with this base to really let the flavors of white wine and Parmigiano Reggiano really shine through. The first thing you need to do is warm some stock. We're gonna need this a little later on in the process, but we want it to be ready. We're not looking for it to be simmering, just stay nice and warm. In the meantime, we can get the rest of our ingredients all set. I have 2 small shallots, but you can use 1 large instead. I go this way, and then the opposite direction. I'll just give my knife a quick run over just to make sure I didn't miss a piece or 2, but kind of nailed it. Set that aside. And a couple of cloves of garlic. Oh, God, where did we get this garlic from? Peeled garlic from now on. We want to mince this up as well. I have the rest of my ingredients ready to go. So all that's left for me to do is just open up this bottle of white wine. A good dry white wine will do here. Like I've said in the past, something that you would drink. I'm using a nice Pinot Grigio. Make sure you go deep enough. There's nothing worse than breaking a cork. Ta-da! We'll just set that aside. Time to start cooking. I'm gonna put this pan over a medium heat, and to that, we will add some butter. Just 1 tablespoon for a little extra flavor. And then 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Give it a swirl, get that butter melted. And we can add our shallots. Looks like a lot, right? We're not looking to get any color on these shallots, just to soften them. So we're literally just going to saute these for a couple of minutes, 2 to 3. Time to add our garlic. Just want to cook this garlic for a minute, just until it's fragrant. It's fragrant. Then our rice. 1 cup right into our pan. We want to toast this rice a little before we start adding the liquid to cook it. I'm using carnaroli rice. It is considered the king of Italian rices. It has a lot of starch in it, which is going to add to the creaminess, and it also cooks to a beautiful al dente. I think this guy's getting thirsty. Time to add a half a cup of wine. Looks about right. Now this is where the technique really kicks in. Over this medium-low heat, you want to keep stirring constantly until there's almost no liquid left. Like right now, before you start adding your warm broth, just a little bit at a time, about a ladleful at a time. And keep stirring and repeating the process. The reason we're adding warm stock is because we don't want to halt the cooking of our rice. What makes risotto so creamy is, unlike pasta, where you strain the water, you're keeping everything, all those starches remain in the pan, and it just keeps getting thicker and creamier and delicious. I'm way too passionate about risotto. You see how all of my liquid is almost gone? I'm actually gonna lower this heat a little bit and add another ladleful of our stock. Just keep stirring, adding liquid as needed, and this is probably gonna take about 40-45 minutes. And do note, you might not need all of the broth. It's better to have too much than too little. Look how creamy. It's like the parting of the seas. It takes a really long time for it to sort of come back together. I'm gonna get my last couple of ingredients on standby, so it's ready to go. Okay, I think we can add our cheese. Half a cup of Parmigiano Reggiano, the good stuff, the real stuff. And a quarter cup of my secret ingredient, looks about right, mascarpone cheese. As if this wasn't creamy enough, this is gonna put it over the top. You can see how creamy it is. It's almost like rice pudding. It's so creamy and decadent that you don't need that much of it. Then to finish it off, simply a drizzle of really good olive oil, just a couple of cracks of fresh black pepper, and of course, just a little bit more Parmigiano Reggiano. Or a lot of it more. Buon appetito. Perfection. So good, so creamy, so delicious. Don't worry, these leftovers are not gonna go to waste. Never in my house. While it's still warm, I'm gonna transfer it to a sheet pan, spread it out nice and thin, let it come to room temperature, then we'll cover it and get it in the fridge to chill so that we can make the crispiest, the creamiest arancini you've ever had.
Well, hello. Are you ready to whip up Anthony's delectable dish? Just text food to 34318 and we will send that recipe right to your phone.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready? Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now.
Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21.
Music is back. Y'all were exactly what we needed.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
I always serve my arancini with a tomato sauce, and my family's been making this forever. Once a month, my parents would make a vat of it so that we always had it on hand, even packing it and freezing it up just to bring on vacation with us. God forbid we couldn't have sauce on a Sunday when we were in Florida. This sauce uses just a few staple ingredients, at least staple ingredients in my house, and comes together fairly quickly. First up, a sweet onion. It adds a little bit of sweetness and balances out the acidity of the tomatoes. Any sweet onion will do. I feel like my gram had this sauce going within minutes and would just be simmering away, and we would be in the kitchen trying to like sneak a dip of bread into it before we got yelled at. I'm gonna get this into my pot, get it out of my way. A nice healthy amount of garlic, 5 cloves. Thankfully, I have some left over from my risotto. And just thinly slice it. Obviously, I love garlic. And that's gonna go in at this point as well. Next up, extra virgin olive oil, about 1/3 of a cup. Okay, let's put this over medium heat and start to saute that garlic and onion. This is definitely one of my favorite smells in the world. It means that somebody's cooking up something delicious. We want these onions to get nice, soft, translucent, but not take on any color. Just stir it pretty frequently, just so that you can make sure they don't burn. Okay, these are looking perfect. Time to add our tomatoes. I have 3 28-ounce cans of what were Pilati whole peel tomatoes that I pureed in a blender, and we're gonna throw that right into our pot. Gonna give this a stir and add our last few ingredients. We'll add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We'll go back later and make sure that doesn't need any more. Some fresh black pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of dried oregano. And a pinch of red pepper flakes. If you like a spicier sauce, of course, add more. And then basil, decent bit of basil, about 1/4 cup, which basically means this whole plant. And stems are fine. Kind of a sad looking plant. Right on in. The basil is just so aromatic, and In my opinion, that's what makes a really good tomato sauce, is the basil flavor that's infused and permeated throughout this whole sauce. At this point, you want to bring your sauce to a boil, then immediately reduce it to a simmer, stirring every 10 to 15 minutes until it's thick, all the flavors have come together, and it's ready to be served.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky. Cleveland. Reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic.
How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Make the most of your day with Today All Day. Get closer to all your friends at Today in a whole new way.
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Shop today with Jill Martin.
We're helping you shop like never before.
The latest styles and biggest names. Today Food.
Things are heating up in the Today All Day kitchen.
Cooking essentials and recipe inspiration.
Get ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Only on Today All Day.
I'm rolling up my sleeves for science, so I'll survive if I contract this virus. For family dinners, family vacations, family anything. For traveling somewhere beyond my living room. And for the Rebels, there is no greater feeling than being in the stadium and cheering on Ole Miss. And now it's your turn. Roll up your sleeves, America. Plan your vaccine, because every shot counts. Visit planyourvaccine.com and make your plan.
Make the most of your day with
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
I've never met a rice bowl that I don't like, but these are truly the best. It has everything going on. It's creamy, it's cheesy, and has a crispy exterior. They're not your typical traditional Sicilian rice balls or arancini. I like them to be on the smaller side. They're a little bit more elegant and perfect for a cocktail party. The first thing that I need to do is set up a dredging station. I don't always use flour, but this is one of those times when I do, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So about 3/4 of a cup. Up next, a couple of eggs. Whisk those up real well. And finally, some panko. I've tried it both ways with standard breadcrumbs and panko. This is the way to get the perfect crispy exterior. So about 1.5 cups of that. Now that our dredging station is complete, on to the cheesy part. I have some fresh mozzarella. These are called ciliegine because they are the size of a ciliegine, cherry. Gonna need 12 for this recipe. And I'm just taking them out of their liquid and placing them on a paper towel. I wanna get these nice and dry so that we can wrap them in the risotto and it's not too slippery. I have my chilled risotto from earlier. It's nice, firm, and set. Feels a little weird, but it's exactly what we want it to be. We want it to be pliable so that we can shape it around our ciliegine. I'm taking a 2 tablespoon cookie scoop or measure, it's 1 ounce, and scraping up some of our risotto. Don't worry if you rip the parchment that's underneath, just make sure it doesn't wind up in your risotto mixture here. That is not the crunch we're looking for. Press it in, make sure you're getting the full 2 tablespoons. My stomach is growling. Oops. Last one. Okay, now for the fun part. We're going to wrap our ciliegine inside our risotto. Take one of your mozzarella balls and slowly shape the chilled risotto around to enclose it. Takes a little patience. Give it a little roll. Don't worry about making a perfect circle at this point. We will refine the shape later on after we dredge them. Cute. Now keep going. Take your time. It's really important that the cheese is in the center of your risotto so that when you fry them, it doesn't leak out. It's a little sticky, but that's what's helping to keep everything all together. I like my arancini on the small side because of the cheese to risotto ratio, but traditionally in Sicily, they're much larger, pear-shaped or orange-shaped, hence arancini, and are often filled with meat sauce with peas or prosciutto. Last one. Okay, that just about does it. At this point, wash your hands. You definitely want to start with clean, dry hands for the dredging process. That's all there is to it. This size is the perfect size for a cocktail party. And then you don't have to feel so guilty when you eat 3 or 4 of them. That's all there is to it. I'm gonna give my hands a quick rinse, make a little room so that we can fry these bad boys up. I have a high-sided skillet filled with a generous amount of vegetable oil. You want there to be enough oil for the balls to be completely submerged. We're looking for a deep fry, not a shallow fry. Be careful. Cook them in batches of about 4, just so that you can control the temperature of your oil. It's been about 5 minutes, and these are looking great. They're beautiful golden brown. And I know that that cheese inside is nice and gooey. Right onto our paper towel lined sheet pan, and immediately crush up some sea salt right on top so that it melts from that hot oil and just gives a little bit of extra seasoning to our arancini. Don't they look great? Beautiful. Our arancini are beautiful golden brown. They're nice and hot, just the way they need to be served. Let's get it plated up. I'm gonna go with a fairly simple presentation. Just a generous puddle of my everyday tomato sauce right in the center of a plate. Just like that. And then I think 3 is a very nice and generous portion for our arancini. A little extra cheese never hurt anyone. And last but not least, if you can find it, some micro basil. You can use regular basil. If you haven't figured out by now, I'm just over the top and bougie. Look how beautiful this looks. It's like the Italian flag on a plate. These arancini make the perfect appetizer for cocktail hour, and I have the perfect drink to mix up.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
Al is in Cleveland for our Reopening America series.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland. Reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic.
How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
It has been a long year.
Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like really confusing. So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for? Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
When blood oranges are in season, I can't wait to get my hands on them and use them for as many things as possible, like this blood orange and white wine cooler. This is not the stuff you were sneaking behind your parents back in high school. It's a little bougier than that. This blood orange is doing double duty. Half of it's gonna go into our cocktail to help flavor it, and the other half is gonna be a beautiful garnish at the end. So cut one half into wedges, and you can throw this into a cocktail mixer or a cocktail shaker, whatever you have. The other half, I'll halve again, and then just slice into half moons. Look how beautiful, deep, vibrant red that is. Super delicious, and it's also very nutritious. You're also going to need a half of a lime. Save the other half for something later. Cut that into a few wedges as well. Then a little rosemary, about 2 sprigs. Add that and muddle it up. Put some elbow strength into it. We want to get all of those citrus juices out and the oils and fragrance of that rosemary, which I can smell already. Look at that beautiful fuchsia color. Okay, to that, 1 cup of our Pinot Grigio. Stir it up. And then strain it into 2 glasses. 1 cocktail for now, and then 1 for right after. Isn't that a gorgeous color? Then to amplify our blood orange flavor, some blood orange soda. Half a cup to each of your glasses. All that's missing are some garnishes. Throw a few of those half moons into your glasses. Any way they fall. Some more rosemary. I have one last surprise. It is summer after all, so some edible flowers. You can find these in the produce section of your supermarket. That'll do. I don't know about you, but I think this is one gorgeous cocktail. It also happens to be extremely delicious. This is not your average wine cooler. Cheers.
Women learn rules from women's magazines. I can't make a move without consulting Family Circle or Harper's Bazaar. Otherwise, I'd have no idea what shade of red drives a man crazy. Little hint, it's the one with the least amount of fabric involved.
That is part of a stand-up set from Midge Maisel, played by Rachel Brosnahan in the hit Amazon Prime series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Brosnahan's performance in that role has earned the 30-year-old an Emmy Award and 2 Golden Globes for Best Actress in a Comedy. Born in Milwaukee and raised outside of Chicago, Brosnahan's professional life has been rooted in New York City, which serves as the setting for Mrs. Maisel. Rachel and I got together on a recent snowy day in New York for a safely distanced Sunday sit-down and something new for a pair of New Yorkers, a sightseeing tour through the city on a double-decker bus.
I'm so excited.
Got room for 2 more?
All right. I feel like we're in a movie. Is it snowing? How romantic.
This is magical.
Wow.
13 years after moving here, Rachel Brosnahan still marvels at New York City.
You sort of give off New York. Do you feel like you're a New Yorker?
Thank you. My understanding is that the mark from New Yorkers is 10 years, but not one day sooner. This is my tour of New York's Upper West Side. Cafe Lala with the big scaffolding.
Boy, we got here fast, didn't we? Yep.
Got the
It's
You've
that
Got
very
Mail energy.
Hardcore, you've got mail energy.
Yeah.
That's what I dreamed New York was like. You know,
Right.
sitting by windows, drinking
Right.
coffee, and
Right.
looking out on the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
Most of New York, it turns out, isn't like that, but
No. It's a little harder to live here than they tell you about in the movies.
Or on television. The New York of the 1950s glitters in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the Emmy-winning Amazon series starring Brosnahan as a down-and-out housewife who finds a funny way of landing on her feet.
She's 21 and dumb as a Brillo pad. And I'm not naive. I know that men like stupid girls, right?
Providing a colorful antidote to these gloomy times.
Right before we sat down, we literally had the tape measure out, so we could have 7 full feet between us.
7. I mean, overachieving. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for you, we added the extra foot.
Thanks, pal.
Is it gratifying in some way to know how many people have been watching The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel during this time?
Yeah, it's been so nice to hear that it made people laugh. The character at the center is someone who leads with hope and joy. I'm grateful to have been able to be a part of something that helps people escape for a minute.
Something happened tonight. You'll work out with Cal where you're gonna go.
Who the hell is Cal? Where is Eddie?
Now, Brosnahan is escaping into a different, darker era, the 1970s, for the new Amazon crime thriller, I'm Your Woman. She plays Jean, a woman on the run after her husband betrays his partners in crime.
Is anybody looking?
Everyone's looking, and they're looking for you, too.
It is Brosnahan's first starring role in a film, and her first time as a producer, under her company, Scrap Paper Pictures.
Jean is an ordinary woman of the 70s who's been thrust into these extraordinary circumstances, and I'm grateful that a woman like Jean has been centered in this genre that's so traditionally male-dominated, and that's our director, Julia Hart.
I like the way Julia described it. She said, I wanted to know what happened to Diane Keaton
Mhm.
in The Godfather once the door closed.
Yep. This is a woman who lives primarily in silence. I felt like I didn't understand her when I first read the script. And for me, that's always the most important marker when choosing to take on a new part, is that I don't get it.
Yeah, but that's such an interesting way to put it. For you, some of that mystery is appealing in a character?
Yeah, it feels like it's an exercise in empathy and a constant challenge, and it's always scary, and that's the dream.
That dream took shape in New York, where Brosnahan, a born and bred Midwesterner, went to college and never left.
Right there. I lived on the Upper West for a while. I lived on 83rd, and we shoot the Stage Deli Diner a couple blocks from where I used to live.
Really good. Do not make me cry at the Stage Deli.
We were living in this tiny New York apartment and auditioning all the time and just crossing my fingers and hoping that someone would take a shot.
You haven't even asked my name yet.
I apologize.
It's Rachel.
The first big shot came in 2013 when Rachel won a recurring and Emmy-nominated role in the hit Netflix series House of Cards.
His heels are killing me.
I get it now. Why men rule the world. No high heels.
But it was not until she stepped into Midge Maisel's shoes and dresses and hats a few years later that Brosnahan became a household name.
Comedy is fueled by abandonment and humiliation. Now, who the hell does that describe more than women?
Season 4 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel starts production in New York this month.
Have you gotten used to the yelling on the streets and people knowing who you are, where you go?
No, I don't know that, I'm not sure that's something you can ever get used to. It's always the 6 foot tall dude with this enormous beard who goes, hey man, love the show. Yeah.
Hey, thanks. I haven't played my hometown for a while.
To play a character like Midge, who is not just an extrovert, but a stand-up comic, which is like the scariest profession you can have. How did you approach that when you first started?
It's my worst nightmare. No, it's dreamy in that it continues to be a reach, and that's very exciting. I've tried a lot of things, lots of preparation.
Yeah.
Coffee, lots of coffee. Power posing in the mirror. I've actually tried it. Oh,
What
yeah.
is that? I've never done that.
Oh, you just stand with your feet firmly planted on the ground and put your hands on your hips and hold your head up high and just hope that it comes to you. Hope the confidence comes.
Did you still feel that little pit in your stomach when it's time to get up on the stage and be Midge up there?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think when you feel like you have nothing to lose, you just stand at the edge of the plank every day and make the decision to dive off and just see what happens. It is strange to see Times Square. Is the naked cowboy still naked?
Oh, Rachel.
Oh.
Rachel.
Oh.
Rachel.
The naked cowboy.
Naked cowboy.
Naked cowboy. Oh, hi. Aren't you freezing?
Wow. Uh-huh.
I don't know that I needed to see that. I had a very New York moment once in the subway over here. I caught Elmo with his pants down and peeing on the wall. Yeah.
You are a New Yorker.
That's what did it.
That's it for me. My name is Mrs. Maisel. Thank you and good night.
I gotta say, she's a trooper too. I offered her a hat, a blanket, whatever she wanted. She said, I'm good. It was cold and it was snowy out there. That 4th season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is coming later this year. And I'm Your Woman is available now on Amazon Prime Video. Our big thanks to the great PJ Clark's Restaurant for hosting our conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to the Sunday Sit Down podcast to hear the full-length interview with Rachel Brosnahan. You can find it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get yours.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
It has been a long year. Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like really confusing.
So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for? Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Midge is a woman who is reinventing herself at a time in her life when she didn't think she would need to keep reinventing herself. She's finding her voice in a brand new way. Everything is new. She's discovering who she is and what she wants, and she wears a lot of fantastic hats while she does it.
Abe is, he's a guy who has high standards and high expectations. So he lives in, just a steady state of disappointment and frustration. And but he's a guy who's like his daughter. He's a bit of a fighter, and I think they're they're kind of cut from the same cloth in a way.
For sure. Yeah.
And he's just he's a man, he's just a man of his time. It's late 1950s, from season 3, 1960, and he's struggling with a sort of cultural shift in his family. So he's a man in crisis right now.
Oh man, I love Midge's first day of work. I love the moment where she tells Abe that she's going to work for the first time, and he
the job at B. Altman.
The job at B. Altman.
Oh, yeah, love that.
And he's trying to make sure that she has all her ducks in a row, and she's very excited to prove to him just how in a row all of her ducks are.
You got a job.
Yes.
You have no resume.
They hired me anyway.
Do you know how to type?
I don't need to.
Okay.
I love everything in the Catskills.
Welcome back to Steiner Mountain Resort. You're home away from home.
Hi, Polly. The Catskills is home for Midge. She's been going there her entire life, and it was nice to see a different, slightly more relaxed side of Midge.
Yeah, I think my favorite scene to shoot from the first 2 seasons, and there were many, many great moments, but I think the first moment that Abe sees Midge on stage when she's performing.
And this boy, he was mine, Papa.
And he wanders into this club, and not knowing he's going to see her there, of course. And she steps out on stage, and he had no idea that she was pursuing this line of work. And she starts talking. She sees him and gets nervous. And shooting that scene was fascinating. Well, it was your performance in that scene is just. I just think it's stunning. The material was beautiful. But the way Rachel had to kind of have a foot in both worlds, that's connected to her father and trying to do her act at the same time. It was just a beautiful, beautiful scene.
Thank you. It was kind of amazing for us to shoot because I've been doing stand-up alone, really, for Susie, I guess, for the first 2 seasons, and that was the first time. I guess Joel saw part of that one set, but it really felt like the first time anyone else had ever been let into that world, and I was so nervous to do that for you.
Yeah, that was a big moment for both of these characters in season 2.
Yeah. Midge and Abe's father-daughter relationship is an evolving one. Amy Sherman Palladino, who created the show, always said to me that Midge is the kind of woman who aspires to be exactly like her mother. If all of her dreams came true, she would move a couple floors up in the same apartment building and grow into her mother's dresses and have exactly the same kind of life that she had. And when everything explodes, I think she begins to realize that she actually has more in common with her father than she thought. And I think he begins to realize that too. They have a totally different relationship post Joel than they did before.
Right. And I think even though it seems like Abe and Midge that there's tension and in their relationship, and there's somewhat take an adversarial stance. I think there's a real mutual respect.
Yeah.
He is disappointed and shattered that her marriage has dissolved, but on the other hand, feels a sense of pride that she's an advocate for herself and that she's standing up for herself and that she has enough, feeling of self-worth that she's not just going to, succumb to the whims of her husband, her ex-husband.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite Midge quotes is during season 2 when she's talking about where comedy comes from and why women are great comics despite the fact that some men seem to think otherwise. And she talks about how comedy is fueled by oppression and lack of power and humiliation and sadness and disappointment, and then goes on to say, by those standards, only women should be funny.
Now think about this. Comedy is fueled by oppression, by the lack of power, by sadness and disappointment, by abandonment and humiliation. Now, who the hell does that describe more than women?
It's one of my favorite lines in the whole series. What about you?
I just keep going back to that one scene. I think it was in season 1.
Yeah.
When you've moved back into our apartment, but you've been sort of staying out late, and Rose and I are sitting up, waiting up for you.
Yeah.
And I say, your mother's been in the bathroom throwing up.
Your mother vomited.
I did not vomit.
Well, she did something in the bathroom that took a very long time, and she did not come out looking happy.
We were shooting this late at night after a long day, and I kept.
It was definitely you.
I kept cracking up. I think it took about an hour and a half to shoot.
But Tony's such a
2
consummate
lines.
professional that you kept cracking up really in a very small way. So Tony would go,
But then I think I did
your
one
mother
take.
vomited.
I think I did one take without cracking up, and then you
And then I
cracked
laughed.
up, and then I cracked
I
up.
know.
Touchdown every morning, 10 times, not just now and then.
Yeah, the romper scene was, I just sort of took it in stride. I thought, well, this is an unusual getup, but I just committed to the whole exercise routine. But the response has been just unbelievable.
What have people said?
Everyone talks about that romper as if, it's... I know Maren suggested that, yesterday that I do like a workout tape, Abe's romper workout.
Oh my God, please.
And put it on Amazon.
I'm begging you.
And I thought that's a kind of a good idea. I'll just make up a bunch of random stretches.
But it has to be to the chicken song.
To the chicken song, of course. The response to the romper has been just completely unexpected, and I'm convinced because the Emmy win this year, that Emmy really belongs to Donna Zukowska, our costume designer.
Well, she won one too.
She did, but mine belongs to her too because none of the other actors in my category got to wear a romper
Right.
last season. Why do you think the show is so beloved? I think it has something to do with it. Where it sort of takes us out of the present time. It's kind of it's refreshing. It's a bit of a respite from the stresses of the current period that we're in.
Yeah, it's colorful and
it's bright.
hopeful and
you get invested in the characters and the relationships and the family, and it's funny.
I hope so. It feels like there's something in it for everyone, which has been cool. I never could have expected to hear from so many different people, from so many different backgrounds, from different parts of the country and different parts of the world, who all have completely different ways in. For some people, it's that Midge is a woman who is not apologizing for following a new dream and for being exactly who she is. And for some people, it's the family element, the relationship with the parents. Some people have had similar experiences to the one that Midge had with Joel, where their husbands or boyfriends or fiancés have left unexpectedly and they found themselves lost. Some people just love the costumes. There's a nostalgia for the time period.
The cars.
And the cars. It's been really cool to hear from so many different people why they like it.
On
But we don't
paper-
know what the secret sauce is.
Yeah,
really.
no one knows what it is. But on paper, you would think that this kind of material would just be sort of for a
Yeah.
somewhat narrow demographic.
Yeah.
And yet the opposite has occurred, and
Yeah.
it's just a broad range of fans.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright. Are you ready? We're going to do our part to spread the word on the importance of vaccines, so crucial for reopening America.
A big day around here, a very special naturalization ceremony.
Many of them doctors, nurses, other essential workers.
If you are a nurse, thank you.
Spring has sprung, guys, and we want to fill this season with some fun and surprises.
Yes.
This is the face of excitement. Celebrating Earth Day.
Let's change the world.
Love it!
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
In The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Rachel Brosnahan stars as the feisty and talented housewife who takes a gamble as a stand-up comedian when her marriage falls apart. So the Amazon comedy, set in New York in the late 50s, is a huge hit. We're talking about 8 Emmy Awards right out of the gate. Now it's the eagerly awaited season 2, and the family is struggling with new decisions. Take a look.
Don't think about it. I've been thinking about it since dinner yesterday.
We've been without food for 24 hours. Some people never have anything but bread soaked in water.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
For the sin which we committed before you under
Notice your kid's been stuffing candy bars in his face the entire ceremony. His face is covered in chocolate. He looks like Al Jolson.
Be quiet. We are in temple.
That's right, and everyone can see that we're talking because these seats are fabulous.
Only they were edible.
Did you see Mara Weinstock? 6 rows back.
Oh, you got to get on this train if you're not already on it. Rachel Brosnahan, Tony Shalhoub, Baron Hinkle, Alex Borstein, Michael Zegan, and Kevin Pollak. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Season 2's already off and running. I can't help but think of that Emmy night. I actually went and rewatched it, you guys. It was the night where you guys swept, cleaned up, won 8 Emmys. Will you just take us back to that moment for 1 second, Rachel? You won 1, Alex, you won 1, the show won, you won a ton of them. What did it feel like in that moment?
It was a complete whirlwind. I didn't know that we were that early in the show either, so it was suddenly like, I turned, by the time I got up there, everyone was gone. You were backstage, Amy was gone, I sort of said hi to Tony and went up and blacked out.
Were you shocked about just how much people have fallen in love with this show?
It's interesting. It's an interesting time for the world to embrace a lot of Jewish people.
We'll just live there for a
minute.
And when I was looking at the faces of the rest of the people in the audience, and I think this is catching on. And Tony, you two actually have shot several scenes, not just around here, but you've gone to the Catskills, you've gone to Paris. What are you finding about the show's popularity, not just here, but around the world?
Well, when we were in Paris shooting the first 2 episodes, we were surprised that a lot of our Paris crew, the French crew, knew and loved the show. We were being stopped on the street, and this was just based on just 8 8 episodes of the first season. So it was amazing that the reach was that far, that broad.
Rachel, I feel like your character was so ahead of her time. When I was watching this, I found myself nodding. I found myself going like, you go, girl, you go out there and get it. What do you think it is about her that's resonating with so many women?
I mean, I think she's somebody who's insatiably curious. She's self-empowered. She's asking questions about the world around her. I think, she's aspirational in some way because she shows that it's never too late to head down a new path.
Right.
To find your voice in a different way.
So, Marin, when this show started, did you think to yourself, we got a hit, baby? I could feel it. Did you feel that?
No. All I thought was, thank God I have a job, which works. And also, I started to hear who I was going to get to work with. And the idea that I could be this one's wife and this one's mom and to work with these people. And I honestly, you're just so honored to have a job. But then when you get to hear that you work with Amy and Dan, you just kind of go, thank you.
Talk about the chemistry is undeniable on the show. I don't know if it's you guys, if it's the writing. What is going on? Are you guys all right off script?
It's definitely us.
Is it all? It's all you.
The writing is pretty damn good.
But what is? I mean, because I guess at the Emmys, you guys said we already shot season 2. We kind of already miss each other. Describe what this camaraderie is like.
I think we spend a lot of time, even at work, reminding each other, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
This is crazy. Yeah, we're still in that mode. Of being astonished for the great words, for the great 8-page scene oneers. All this kind of work just doesn't exist for the most part.
And we're just as curious as the audience is to see what happens to these characters.
Well, you play the husband that was the jerk, and your name is Joel. I have a Joel, too, in this. But I heard that the writers were saying that you are kind of your own little Nielsen ratings box. Like, you could tell how well the show was going to do by all the chicks who came up to you on the street and said, Joel!
I have no idea what they're talking about.
They're talking about me.
And Tony.
It was me.
No, I used to get a lot of people coming up to me and being like, you're essentially the jerk from that show. But now they just tell me how much they love it, and it's so nice, just knowing that people are watching it and enjoying it as much as we are.
I just want to say, I think Susie's actually the most handsome man on the show. Sexiest man.
Well, Alex, I was going to say, you're so quiet and you are such a scene stealer. Literally, like when you show up, I just wait for you to drop like one of your bombs.
You want an F-bomb? Is that
By the way, can I point out, too, that Carnegie Deli has created, like, its own sandwich that has to do with your show, and they actually distributed them into our control room. Yeah.
Wow.
The Maisel?
It's the Maisel. They're already eating it right down. So
I guessed, actually, my better half guessed that it was brisket. Is that
What is it, you guys? Do y'all know?
What's the sandwich?
Roast beef.
Oh, okay. Close enough.
Does it only cost about 50 cents?
It costs 50 cents. Exactly. You guys, thank you.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland. Reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic.
How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready? Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes. This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now.
Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
This is about 50 votes. If you can't get bipartisanship here, where are you going to get it? If China decided to cover this up, can we ever actually get a definitive answer? What happens if we don't act on police reform this year? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky, Cleveland. Reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic.
How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
We go sailing together, just the two of us. We ski together. We do triathlons together.
Meet Konstantin Mavroudis and Konstantin Mavroudis, a father and son who share much more than a name.
We have actually been doing triathlons together for about 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Is the dynamic competitive, or do you?
No. I can't compete with. No, I can't compete with him. He's too fast.
Come on, Konstantin, you got this, buddy. Come on. You're looking good, buddy. Come on.
The younger Konstantin, who goes by Konst, might best his dad in a race, but he's following his father's footsteps in a big way as a pediatric congenital heart surgeon.
In many ways, it's kind of like being a mechanic. I mean, you're taking apart an engine, you're putting it back together, you're hoping that it works well in the end.
With a 40-year career, the elder Konstantin is one of the field's most prominent doctors, now saving lives at Peyton Manning Children's Hospital at Ascension St. Vincent in Indianapolis.
Sometimes these hearts can be no bigger than a large chestnut. It's up to people like Konst and I to fix them.
Konst started picking his dad's brain about hearts at an early age.
There were times that I remember you go to restaurants that have the paper instead of the cloth on the tables, and I would ask him questions about heart disease, and he would draw little diagrams.
But the boy, curious about hearts, almost became an orthopedic surgeon instead.
I really didn't want to do what my father does.
Tell me about some of the reasons why you didn't think you wanted to do what your dad did.
It's tough. When your father literally wrote a textbook, so when people can say he wrote the book on it, he kind of did. That can be difficult. But in the end, it became something that I couldn't resist.
He's now finishing his residency at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and together they're only the 5th father and son ever in this profession.
It's a pretty rare connection that we have, and the fact that we have the exact same name means that I get his emails, sometimes he gets mine.
He and I talk a lot about what went wrong in an operation or what could have been better.
It gives me a great opportunity to have this wonderful connection with my father.
But when it comes to the heart, there are bigger lessons a son learns from his dad.
There were two major maxims growing up. One was remember your last name, and the other was be aware of others. My wife and I are pregnant, and these are kind of the major things that I'm going to try to, thank you.
Yay, congratulations.
These are the things that she and I value very highly and are going to do our best to impart to our children.
What sort of values did you want to instill, and what do you see in him?
Well, he would be the first to say, you lead from the front, you lead by example. I have pride, but I didn't take his exams. I didn't do his residency for him. He did that himself. If there was anything that I did, I maybe held up an example.
And what do you want to see for his career going forward?
Oh, he's already doing it. God bless him. I just hope that I live to 120 to see it all.
Oh, I couldn't love it more.
Oh my gosh, they were such a great father and son to have this conversation with. And one of the things that Konst says also inspired him, his dad came home from work happy every day.
Nice.
And even with the ups and downs of the business that they're in, there could be some tough days, but he, they would talk through those, and most of the time his dad was happy.
Pediatric hearts, you're an angel.
Yeah.
Pediatric heart surgeon?
They're doing God's work. It's amazing.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright. Are you ready? We're going to do our part to spread the word on the importance of vaccines, so crucial for reopening America.
A big day around here, a very special naturalization ceremony.
Many of them doctors, nurses, other essential workers.
If you are a nurse, thank you.
Spring has sprung, guys, and we want to fill this season with some fun and surprises.
Yes.
This is the face of excitement.
Celebrating Earth Day.
Let's change the world.
Love it!
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
Al is in Cleveland for our Reopening America series.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky. Cleveland. Reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic. How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Ask anybody you know, and one thing they'll probably tell you is they are super, super busy.
Whether you're taking care of kids or taking care of older parents, it can all be exhausting and overwhelming, and you might be missing some of life's best moments.
But you know what? It doesn't have to be that way. Clinical psychologist Shefali Sabari is the author of The Awakened Family, and she says it's all about being present and conscious in your daily life. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Great to see you. And by the way, the Dalai Lama wrote the foreword to her book.
So you're
Mage.
Mage. Well, it's true. Well, you know what's funny? I think we sprint through life. Andy and I have been talking about this too in the makeup room. We're sprinting through life and we're missing life. Like we're trying to do everything and we're missing some of the most important things. I think we're all on that train.
And that's why when you have a child, an infant, and I know both of you are new parents, that's when you begin to realize that life is to be lived in the moment, you know, and to center yourself and to get grounded in the moment. And infants especially teach us to do that, to drop the doing and to just enter the being.
And what is a tip that you can give us about being conscious as a family?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, conscious parenting really speaks to the fact that the real children we have to raise are the ones within us. And to become conscious of all our own emotional baggage and keep it out of the room. And the more we heal ourselves, the more we'll be present and not put our stuff onto others or our children.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was walking down the street with Haley one day, and I still remember it because she declared to some stranger on the street, like, oh, I have pockets. And I remember I looked at her, and I could have been like, great, honey, you have pockets. Let's go. Come on, we're late. But for a second, I just sat in it. And I remember it right now that happened. And there have been so many other instances where we've been in a rush. Great, sweetie, I know you're pretending. Yay, we got to go. Take her hand and run.
Right, we're all on this rush to nowhere.
Yes, to nowhere. Where are we rushing to?
Right, because we're incessantly anxious.
One of your things that you talk about is that parents need to give up their need to control.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Well, the traditional parenting paradigm is all about control. And these children are my children. They're my possessions. So what I try to teach and espouse is that they just come through you, as Khalil Gibran said, and they're not yours.
They're not yours.
So they are their own sovereign beings. So when you understand that they have their own destiny to unfold into, and your role is just to be an usher and a guide, then you won't micromanage them and hover around them, because that just speaks to your own anxiety. It's never really about the kid. It's about our own anxiety that leads to this control.
Well, what if it is time to go to bed? And I want to it's time for her to go to bed.
The parent's role is to create a schedule and a framework.
Structure. So creating a container is very different from being in control and imposing a sort of agenda that comes from your own deep-rooted expectation. Of course you contain them and you have a schedule and you try to abide by it, but you also work in a negotiated way with your child, you know, and I think parents forget that our children need to be allowed to unfold into their own. You know,
we're too busy trying to
to micromanage them and slot them into little boxes of time.
How can Hoda make bedtime more enjoyable for little Haley Joy?
Well, I think bedtime is really one of those sacred times, and I know we're so exhausted. I used to call it the witching hour. You're good, and then after 1 minute after 9, and you become a raving lunatic because we're exhausted. So we have to prepare for that time. You know, we have to have good boundaries during the day, take care of ourselves, because that's the time our children want to connect, and they don't want to leave us, and they don't. They're having separation anxiety. So we need to prepare for this sacred bonding time.
Oh, that was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You. You can find The Awakened Family on today.com/shop.
Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready? Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now.
Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21. Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
A recent Gallup survey found about 1 in 6 Gen Z adults identify as part of the LGBTQ community. So as you can imagine, the coming out process affects countless families. But each story is unique, and I sat down with 2 families to talk about their journey to embracing their LGBTQ children. Take a look.
It was kind of like a weight lifted off of me, but it kind of opened up a whole new can of worms.
7 years ago, Miles Foster sat his parents down for what would be a life-changing conversation. He told them he was bisexual.
We were thinking, well, what does this really mean?
Miles was just 15 at the time, and for his parents, Rodney and Valencia Foster, the news came with a wave of emotions and concern.
He's a young black man, and now you're part of the LGBTQ community. So now you're talking about 2 different ways that people can discriminate against you.
We've always looked at Miles as the answer to God's prayer. When he came out, I was like, well, wait, this is this blessing from God. This doesn't make sense.
The Los Angeles-based family struggled to figure out how this could all fit with their own church community, which had largely supported a ban on same-sex marriage.
Every time we went to church on Sunday, we're hearing gay people vilified. I knew that there was something wrong here. I wasn't in conflict with God and with my son. I have to choose my son or choose God. It's like, so I chose both.
Valencia and Rodney each took their own paths to a better understanding of their son and their faith.
I went and found a group of Christians that were outwardly gay but also Christian, and they helped me out and we started to talk.
I found a Facebook group of moms who were women who were also trying to reconcile their faith and their child's identity.
While the Fosters are now closer than ever, Valencia still wishes she had reacted better when Miles first came out.
We said we love him. We said we support him no matter who he is or who he loves. But, you know, there were nights where I was crying in my room.
Valencia, I see that there's still raw emotion to this.
Looking back on my initial response, I still feel like I should have just celebrated him even for the courage. And thinking about him going through what he was going through all the years before he said something. I just wish I had more of a soft landing for him.
Valencia and Rodney have since become advocates for the LGBTQ community through the organization Free Mom Hugs.
I'm very blessed to have been born into this family. I feel very lucky every single day.
For Carl and Kristen Horton of Austin, Texas, their teenagers coming out felt more like an education.
He did a PowerPoint for us.
Yes.
Projected it to the screen.
I didn't know if they were going to understand what I meant when I said, I'm trans, I'm gender fluid, I'm non-binary, whatever.
I thought it was a school project, and he was explaining what gender fluidity was. And at the end,
Clay was like, no.
I'm like, why do we have this presentation? He goes, I'm gender fluid, I'm trans. I was like, oh.
Clay was assigned female at birth, and his parents sometimes had a difficult time adjusting.
I would have been surprised if someone told me the worst thing is going to be when they change their name. We chose a name that was, had a lot of meaning. It was Carl's grandmother, who we loved dearly. But we also recognized that this was part of the process.
It was really hard for my mom. She was really worried about transitioning and what that meant for pregnancy later on.
Clay is such a caretaker. I always associated that with someday Clay being a mom. And being able to switch that and to be able to say, okay, so Clay may be a dad someday.
Both Carl and Kristen have since joined PFLAG, a group of parents, friends, and allies to the LGBTQ community.
I think the biggest aha for me was other dads who were there who were really struggling with the same challenge, and much of it was the basic of like safety, physical safety, mental health, spiritual health, and making sure that our kids were able to spread their wings and blossom.
My parents have taken up the torch and have really continued to work to make our community safer for LGBT kids, which I'm really proud of.
How would you describe the person Clay is today?
Messy.
I think Clay's the same person, just better. I don't see fear in Clay's eyes anymore. I do hope he knows how much I love and respect him, but I also know that it was a pause. And I wish that I didn't have a pause of, from being informed to being supportive.
How is your relationship with your parents today?
It's really good. I'm still 20 years old, so I won't say that we don't fight over stuff, like who's using the car when, but I always feel like they'll have my back. No matter what happens, they'll still be there to help me.
These two families' journeys actually brought them closer together in the end. And for more stories like this and original content about the LGBTQ community, go to today.com/pride.
Okay, those were beautiful stories. I still struck by how the parents said, I wish I would have done better. It seemed like they did so well. But
I know, it was all about love.
Yeah.
And the key is too, I think they were always close-knit from the beginning.
Yeah.
They're just very beautiful families.
Okay, so coming up next, some advice and lessons for all parents on the best ways to support our kids. Right after this.
Before the break, we met two families who shared their coming out journeys.
Yeah, which led us to ask, if your child comes out to you, would you know what to say and do? Or better yet, would you know what not to say and do and still show your love and support?
So we called on the experts, of course, for advice. Psychiatrist Dr. Janet Taylor is with us, and family therapist Linda Reeves. She's the co-founder of the Manhattan Beach PFLAG chapter and the proud mom of a gay son. Welcome to both of you. And Linda, just to start with you for a second, I think Jen and I were both struck by how those parents that we just saw in that piece had such beautiful responses, but yet they felt like they could have done better. What could they have done better?
I think that their stories were both so beautiful, and the loving and caring is always going to be number one, no matter if you kind of have a feeling about it or if you're shocked. And I think a lot of parents aren't prepared, right? So what you want to do is just always lead with love and let them know that you love them and that you support them and that you'll be in their corner always.
Which is what those families did. And you say that when your son came out to you, you even wished you of course said, I love you, but that you wished you had done things differently. What do you wish you had done that parents watching now can take notes of?
I think one of the things, well, there's a couple, but one of the things is that parents don't really understand how long that the child has been living with these thoughts and and worries, right? They're really so uncertain about how you're going to respond, if you're going to believe them, if you're going to support them, where religion is involved. That's a huge factor that a lot of kids really struggle to, their family's religious, like the one example. So what I really was looking back is that I had spent more time asking my son what it had been like for him to have, go to bed at night with his head on the pillow, worried about what he was going to say, when he was going to tell us, how he was going to tell us. So I think there's a lot of trauma that parents don't really understand that kind of lies behind the surface.
Dr. Taylor, I think a lot of parents try to be kind of cheerleadery after they hear this. Either they'll say something like, well, I always thought that, I always suspected that, or I knew it all along, or else they kind of quickly get on the bandwagon with rainbows and everything. And I think they go to the other extreme.
Well, you're absolutely right. And the fact is, so often we think as parents we have to protect our children, and that when they come out, that, by protecting them, sometimes we will have to really look at our own judgments and what we are protecting them from. It's not a time to feel sorry for them, but certainly to create a space that they can talk to us. And what we want to do is take their lead, but also acknowledge how you feel. So it's also a time not to bash yourself, because, as both families showed, even though something is really difficult, they all became better. And that is the goal. So don't be too hard on yourself, but certainly create that space for your children to talk to you.
Okay, should we talk about the do's and don'ts? Y'all have some really good do's and don'ts. Linda, can we start with you? What should we do and what should we not?
Well, I think a lot of parents are concerned that their child really knows what's going on. So believe in your child, that it is their truth. It may be an evolving identity story that they're, or journey that they're on, but don't question them or make comments about that they're not old enough to know or experienced enough to have, to make this kind of declaration.
Okay, and Dr. Taylor, what are some things that parents should stay away from? Because I think some parents may be shocked when they hear the news, and their first reaction isn't to wrap their arms around them, even though it should be what they do.
Yeah, so don't label, don't judge, certainly watch the language that you use and take the opportunity. It is shocking and maybe painful for some parents. And again, you have to be with that, but also really ask your child or your teen open-ended questions. Ask them, questions like, what do you want me to know? How can I help you? Educate yourself as a parent. Look at documentaries, read, join supportive organizations like PFLAG so you realize you're not alone and really are informed to partner with them as they take this journey.
Yeah, because I think some parents say, well, I love you no matter what. Well, that's no matter what is not great.
Yeah.
That's like,
I also think one of the great pieces of advice you all have that we should get to really quickly is to ask questions and to listen. Yeah. Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, certainly you want to ask, not assume, and listen from a place of understanding, not thinking about what you're going to say next, even though it may be completely different with how you grew up and what you think, but listen to understand, and certainly with love.
And I loved how those families found a space for their faith part of their life and the family part of their life. You guys, thank you so much. This was really enlightening. We appreciate it.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Make the most of your day with
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Savannah and Hoda bring you what you must know. The biggest moments of the morning.
One Republic!
Exclusive interviews.
Why did it work for you?
You're right. I am more talented than the rest.
And important headlines.
Major medical news this morning.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule. Streaming every day on Today All Day. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
Mom, are you ready to become a grandmother?
I am absolutely ready.
What kind of grandma are you going to be?
I will spoil, I will treat, but mainly I can't wait until she gets old enough to go shopping.
Dylan, you are expecting your third.
We're working our brain around the logistics of living in a New York City apartment with 3 boys, but the excitement of meeting someone that no one has met.
Laura, who's one of my oldest friends, knows what it's like to be the mom of a girl. She has 2 girls.
Zoe is going into 6th grade.
She is graduating from a cubby, we say, to a locker. She's gonna have homeroom.
I don't know if I would know how to be a mom to a girl.
You would learn instantly.
My girls they're pretty mellow. I think what my husband and I are anticipating are all of the hormonal and all of the changes that'll come when they're teenagers.
Julie, what exactly was Kristen like as a child? Was she mellow?
No. Once I got a call from nursery school that Kristen had broken her leg because she was pretending to be Wonder Woman and jumped off a chair. So that shows you how active she was.
What did you learn that you would pass along to my daughter?
Well, I would just tell your daughter to be herself, just as we wanted you to be yourself.
Dylan, what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way?
There's such a roller coaster of emotions that you're going to go through, because at first it's like this sweet smelling, amazing little just bundle of love. And then after several nights of losing sleep, your mind starts to go crazy.
You know, I would think, oh, she needs music. And then be like, oh, wait, that's too much music. She needs some movement. Oh, that's too much movement. And this like quest to find the perfect balance.
When she slept through the night, I got up in the morning and panic set in.
Did you ever have a moment like that where Zoe and Una slept through the night and you thought, what's going on?
Oh, absolutely. Except I was like, this is wonderful. Because
you were becoming a mom, and the business world was not as supportive of working moms. Was that tough?
Yes. I didn't know it was tough because it just seemed very natural for us to be together.
I just went to work with you. You just went right.
I put her in her little basket, set her on the desk, and did real estate.
You're an educator, Laura, in Hawaii, and you have really passed along a love of education and reading to your two girls.
I used to have books in the car, and I used to read stories when they were eating. It really did kind of set this love of stories and reading into my girls. And so when they'll be at the dinner table, they'll bring their books, and I'm like, hey, we're eating.
When you first bring that baby home and you think, oh my goodness, I'm so worried. Dylan, what's the best advice?
Can I answer that first?
Yes, you
Go
can.
ahead. The best advice is to call your mom.
You need your mom. You need, you know,
Absolutely.
you need the grandparents around because they know everything and you know nothing. But there's this moment of you just want it to be you and John and look at each other and say, we got this.
You know, I'm actually going to share some Julie Welker advice where she taught us, this too shall pass. And I think that's so true with children. The issue of this hour is going to change to the issue of the next hour.
Right.
How do you preserve it, Mom?
Record it, you know, write it down, take photos. And again, the most important thing is to spend as much time with her. And I love you so much.
I love you too, Mom. And Dylan and Laura, I love you guys too.
Whew, that's a little emotional to watch back. Dylan, such great advice. Thank you for being a part of that conversation.
For what
My
it's
mom
worth, 'cause
loved it. Laura loved it.
There's also, I mean, no advice that you can honestly give to a new mom because you're going to just figure it out yourself.
I know. Well, I've learned so much from you and you, Peter, a dad to the two most beautiful girls.
You've got two babysitters blocks away if you need us at any time we are there. But honestly, as much preparation as you did for that debate about a year ago, you are more than you could possibly prepared for this. We are so thrilled for you. We've been giving you as many pieces of advice and gifts as we can. So the gift I have as you depart today,
another one,
is less for the baby and more for you and John, because it is the start of summer and you guys entitled a little moment to celebrate yourselves. So a toast to you guys, a little margarita cocktail kit.
That is so sweet of you. We get one more margarita because no more the
then it's
day.
game on.
Exactly.
It'll help you
It
get
is
some sleep
game
in the
on.
final days of
I
the year.
want both of you to be prepared for lots of middle of the night phone calls from me, asking for more advice. You guys have just showered me in love. I'm so grateful.
Text me anytime. And I also want to say you'll never have enough onesies or diapers. They'll spit up, you know, they'll make a mess of all of them. But this one you might want to save to the side. Because you don't really want to stay in this one. Just in case you're missing
Dylan,
Peter
I
while you're
love
gone.
it. I'm pinning that up on the nursery.
We'll leave that one in the drawer, I think, for a little while. Dylan, appreciate that very much.
Connect. And this morning, we are kicking off the series marking the milestones of the community and also the ongoing struggle for equality.
Now, we start with the journey through the HIV/AIDS epidemic, nearly 40 years to the day since the first case of AIDS was diagnosed in this country.
NBC News Now anchor Joe Fryer sat down with those who lived through the crisis. Joe, good morning.
Hey there, good morning. So it was June 5th of 1981 when the first 5 cases of a mysterious disease were first reported, a disease that would later become known as AIDS. Since then, the disease has claimed more than 700,000 lives in America, and today more than 1.1 million people in the U.S. are living with HIV. Now, many are undetectable, healthy, and thriving, including actor Billy Porter, who recently became public with his diagnosis. This morning, we want to reflect on 4 decades of pain and progress. At first, the deadly intruder did not have a name.
The lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer.
But it quickly developed a reputation.
And the deaths kept coming and coming.
The fear was palpable.
I was terrified of passing on HIV to someone else.
But in the years that followed,
it was pretty miraculous for me.
So was the bravery.
Because of them, I can live a healthy and happy life.
We sat down with 4 gay men from 4 different generations, all living with HIV. The oldest is Jesse Myland, who's still haunted by the beginning of the epidemic.
People who, because they had been diagnosed, suddenly disappeared. And we all knew what that silence meant.
Jesse was diagnosed in the 80s after losing his partner, George, and so many others.
It was hard. It was very hard.
At the time, many leaders were accused of ignoring the crisis because it was deemed a gay disease. President Reagan didn't give his first major speech on AIDS until 1987, 6 years after the first diagnosed case.
We must have a definition of AIDS.
For Dr. Anthony Fauci, the epidemic was a turning point. In 1984, he became the nation's top infectious disease expert, the same job he holds today. When there is resistance, was it hard to get the resources you needed?
Well, in the beginning, it was. I mean, we were trying to convince people that this was not something that was going to go away. This is something that was going to get worse and worse.
To raise awareness, the AIDS memorial quilt was unveiled on the National Mall.
Joe Fratini.
As organizers read the names of those who died. Some shared their stories publicly, including actor Rock Hudson, teen Ryan White, who tested positive after a blood transfusion, Real World star Pedro Zamora, and basketball legend Magic Johnson. In 1995, a combo therapy known as the AIDS cocktail was ushered in, followed by even better medications offering hope. But there was no cure for the stigma.
Right now, there are millions of people with HIV suffering from social rejection because they and other people believe that they're infectious, and they're not.
Diagnosed in 2003, Bruce Richmond says he was terrified of giving HIV to someone else.
So I didn't love. I isolated myself. I was depressed, and at times I was suicidal.
But then he learned medication could reduce his viral load to undetectable levels, meaning he couldn't transmit the virus. So Bruce started an advocacy group and coined the phrase U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable, a message endorsed by the CDC.
It gave me hope. It meant that I could be intimate. People with HIV can live healthy lives and not pass on the virus to anyone, and that's a revolution.
Today, about 38,000 Americans are still diagnosed each year. DeAndre Moore was 19. Remember staring at a window covered in butterfly stickers.
In that moment, all I could think was, damn, if I could be one of those butterflies and just fly away from here, then everything's gonna be okay.
Raif Darazi had a similar reaction. He was 27.
So I knew next to nothing about what it meant to be diagnosed with HIV. It was a steep learning curve.
And what did you learn?
Well, I learned that I'm not gonna die. I'm alive and well.
You think back to that moment with the butterfly, what would you tell yourself in that moment?
You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be just as beautiful.
Today, all 4 of these men are undetectable, and all are advocates, sharing their stories to educate the public and fight the stigma.
It's taken us 30 years of the AIDS crisis devices to teach the whole world that our lives and our loves are equal to everyone else.
It blows my mind just how far we've come, and then just what's possible now. So,
what is possible now?
My mind immediately says what isn't possible. That's the answer.
Another key breakthrough in recent years, PrEP. It's a daily pill that people who are HIV negative can take to prevent getting the disease. As for an HIV/AIDS vaccine, well, that has not happened yet. But Dr. Fauci tells me he is cautiously optimistic that someday we will have a vaccine that is successful. 26-year-old DeAndre Moore, who you saw there, hopes that he is someday going to be part of an AIDS-free generation. And we want to give a big thank you to 3 organizations that helped us with that story there: the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, AIDS United, and the Prevention Access Campaign.
It's incredible to see how far we've come in those decades. We all remember those scenes in the 80s, but there still is a stigma. Isn't that what you learned?
Yeah, there is, and it's actually kind of amazing, especially with young people, which is surprising. So a recent survey of HIV-negative millennials found that nearly a third of them say they avoid hugging, talking to, or even being friends with someone with HIV. People living with HIV often report being hesitant still to openly share their status because they fear losing friends or family, or they even fear abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental.
Just reminds us of Billy Porter just
thinking
last week,
Yep.
who just announced
What
it.
a big sign of bravery even now. It's needed now, just as more than before.
And he waited 14 years, waited to tell his mother, so that stigma is still there.
Right.
Joe, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
I'm rolling up my sleeves for science, so I'll survive if I contract this virus. For family dinners, family vacations, family anything. For traveling somewhere beyond my living room. And for the Rebels, there is no greater feeling than being in the stadium and cheering on Ole Miss. And now it's your turn. Roll up your sleeves, America. Plan your vaccine, because every shot counts. Visit planyourvaccine.com and make your plan.
Make the most of your day with Today All Day. Get closer to all your friends at Today in a whole new way.
Today in 30.
We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Shop today with Joe Martin.
We're helping you shop like never before.
The latest styles and biggest names. Today Food.
Things are heating up in the Today All Day kitchen.
Cooking essentials and recipe inspiration.
Get ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Only on Today All Day.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
This morning, we're lucky we're joined by a powerhouse Hollywood producer.
Will Packer is behind films like Straight Outta Compton and Girls Trip, and now he's sharing his knowledge with a new generation of filmmakers.
Will is partnering with NBC Universal for the Seen in Color film series. It's sponsored by Target and promises to be an incredible opportunity for emerging stars. And Will, thank you for sticking around through all of that. We're so glad to have you this morning.
Sorry you had to see that.
Are you kidding me? Listen, I'm here for the vintage Chanel footage. That's why I'm here.
Thank you, Will.
So are we.
I love it. Looking good. The glow up is real.
Thank
That's what I
you.
was
The glow up is real. I'm putting that on a shirt.
I love that. All right, well, besides Chanel's vintage footage, tell us more about the Seen in Color film series and why it was so important to get involved.
Yeah, it's really cool. I got to tell you guys, I'm so excited about it. It's really a continuation of work that I've been doing for almost 30 years since I made my first film, which is trying to make sure that we get underrepresented voices in our industry, people that would not have the opportunity. So we scoured everywhere. I'm talking film festivals and online forums to find 3 amazing up-and-coming Black filmmakers, and that's what we found. They won this contest, and now they're going to have their work featured across NBC Universal and all their platforms. Target is a big sponsor of this. This is an example of corporations doing the right thing, supporting folks and putting their money where their intentions are. But these new filmmakers, remember these names: Addison Wright, Yureko Dawson-Amoa, Christian King. This is the next generation of filmmaker that we're going to be hearing about for a very, very long time. This is when we're at our best, right? This is, the new global mainstream is multi-perspective, multi-ethnic, multi-racial. This is the important thing. I'm proud to be a part of this work. Really.
Great. And Will, is the point of this to get the pipeline going, where you bring in this next generation, who will bring in the generation after that, and now we've kind of seeded a whole new group of people with a different voice?
You got it, Al. That's it. That's what we have to be doing is because see, the thing is, you can't just create like a new filmmaker, a new voice, new perspective, and have underrepresented people have an opportunity to create their stories if the pipeline's not there. If you don't take filmmakers who are just starting out, who are just aspiring, and give them a true chance at mentorship, get them a true chance to see their work be seen on the largest forums and the largest stages, that's how you create a pipeline so that now in the years to come, we will have an industry that looks far more diverse than it looks now. That's the work that's being done.
And switching gears really quickly, we're looking behind you. We've got Girls Trip there behind you. We talked earlier about, Straight Outta Compton, Stomp the Yard. First of all, really quickly, is there going to be another Girls Trip too? Everybody was tweeting and texting me, asking me if I'll ask you.
Hey, let me tell you something. Here it is. Right now, you're going to hear it closer than we have ever been. That's what I was.
All right.
Okay. And advice.
Excited, so you're getting there.
I
Absolutely.
love it. And what about advice for somebody who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Here's what I would say. Somebody's watching this and would say, well, I didn't get a chance to be a part of this program. I didn't win this. And by the way, all our filmmakers are getting a blind script deal. And what that basically means is that they're getting a chance to be commissioned to write a script, sight unseen, right? It's about their voices, not about a specific project. And that is huge. That is like the gold standard of something that you can get in our industry. So they're going to be mentored by folks like me and others. But if you're watching this and you say, I want to get in this industry and I didn't win this competition, I'm not a part of this series, that's okay. Do not give up. It's a tough industry, but you control your own destiny. It's your voice. It's your vision. Your dream is not over, even if you get told no a million times. It's not over until you say it's over. So maintain control of your destiny and do not give up and keep working and grinding, and you will be successful. And you got to believe that. You got to make that a self-fulfilling prophecy. I really believe that.
Wow. We're all in. I know.
Thank you.
Motivation.
Make the most of your day with
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Today. Future's looking bright.
Are you ready? Half of all U.S. adults now fully vaccinated.
A huge lift is underway for one of the most celebrated cities in this country, Cleveland, Ohio.
This is the greatest location in the nation.
We're having a baby.
Wow.
The big reveal is under the lid.
Hey now.
Things are looking brighter, so we want to help you find the fun in 21. Music is back.
Y'all were exactly what we needed.
I'm rolling up my sleeves for science, so I'll survive if I can track this virus. For family dinners, family vacations, family anything. For traveling somewhere beyond my living room. And for the Rebels, there is no greater feeling than being in the stadium and cheering on Ole Miss. And now it's your turn. Roll up your sleeves, America. Plan your vaccine, because every shot counts. Visit planyourvaccine.com and make your plan.
Make the most of your day with Today All Day. Get closer to all your friends at Today in a whole new way.
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Shop today with Jill Martin.
We're helping you shop like never before.
The latest styles and biggest names. Today Food.
Things are heating up in the Today All Day kitchen.
Cooking essentials and recipe inspiration.
Get ready. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Only on Today All Day.
Our Across America journey here in Louisville, Kentucky. Cleveland, reporting on an America rebuilding after the pandemic. How narrow a window do you have to really get kids back where we would want them to be?
NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Welcome back. Next Monday, May 31st, marks 100 years since the beginning of what's become known as the Tulsa Race Massacre. It was a deadly and coordinated attack on an African-American neighborhood.
It is a story that for decades was swept under the rug out of shame and fear. NBC's Harry Smith joins us with more. Hey, Harry, good morning.
It's hard to imagine a neighborhood like Greenwood in Tulsa, right? A place that was so financially self-sufficient. It was thought that Booker T. Washington called it the Black Wall Street. Wow. Money in this neighborhood would exchange 12 times before it came back out again. What happened there was so heinous, so racist, that it was really literally swept under the rug and well hidden for decades. Hard to comprehend what happened there, unless, of course, you lived it. On June 1st, 1921, 9-year-old Eldoris McCondichie was awakened by her mother. What her mother said next, she never forgot.
She says, we have to go out, get out. I said, she says, the white people are killing the colored people.
Eldoris grew up in the Greenwood area of Tulsa, a buoyant, bustling community of some 10,000 African Americans. There were schools, churches, stores, theaters, and a hospital.
It was a place where, for African Americans, the American dream was working.
Scott Ellsworth is a Tulsa native. He's been searching for the truth of what happened here most of his life, reporting his findings in a new book, The Groundbreaking.
Something happens in an elevator in an office building in downtown Tulsa between a 19-year-old shoe shiner who's African American named Dick Rowland and a 17-year-old white elevator operator named Sarah Page.
A scream from Page leads to Rowland's arrest the next day. By that evening, a lynch mob gathered outside the courthouse where Rowland was jailed.
The hours go by. The lynch mob is 100, 200, 500, 800 people going.
Word gets to Greenwood, and a group of Black World War I veterans show up to help the sheriff defend Rowland. They're turned away.
As they are leaving, an elderly white man went up to a tall black vet and said, "Where are you going with that gun?" A tussle ensues, a shot goes off, and the massacre begins.
The veterans retreat to Greenwood with the mob in pursuit. Gun battles erupt, but somehow it is quiet overnight until the next morning.
All of a sudden, there's a whistle that goes off, and at that point, this white mob starts walking towards Greenwood.
Eldoris and her family flee, running north up a set of railroad tracks.
The crowd was just the whole breadth of the railroad track, on the sides and down the middle.
The residents of Greenwood try to defend their neighborhood, but they don't have a chance. The National Guard sprays the residents with machine gun fire, and it gets worse.
You have something new up in the air, and its airplanes start flying over Greenwood. There is evidence, and I believe this firmly, that at least on one of the airplanes, a co-pilot is dropping sticks of dynamite down on Greenwood.
The airplanes was up, just raining down the bullets, and I could see them, and I heard them, and I was so frightened.
Greenwood is left a smoldering ruin. 9,000 people left homeless. The dead uncounted. Estimates range from 75 to 300. Eldoris lived until 2010. Her granddaughter, Joy McCondichie, keeps her story alive.
What did Tulsa lose by having that entire neighborhood destroyed?
The glory of the bright city shining on the hill.
Eldoris and other survivors gave testimony to the Tulsa Race Riot Commission, a commission that ultimately recommended reparations for the survivors.
The state had a great opportunity and they turned it down. Instead, they gave each survivor a gold-plated medal.
A sorry substitute for the enormous loss.
Why should the sins of the father be visited upon the son?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you why, because the wealth of the father went along with the sins of the father, and that wealth was visited upon the son.
A lingering question is where the victims were buried. The commission identified 3 potential mass grave sites. One has yielded a dozen caskets, but there's another site, never filmed before, that has Scott's attention, near a homeless encampment above the Arkansas River.
In 2002, a retired Tulsa police officer named Bob Patty told us about being shown a photograph showing a trench with bodies in it. You could see a steam shovel behind it. So it's our supposition that it's here. And the homeless are very much convinced that there is something evil in the canes right there.
Kevin Ross is chairman of the mass graves investigation.
Do you feel like Tulsa has come to grips with this very dark day 100 years ago?
I wouldn't say grip. I think Tulsa has come to make that first step.
Joy McCondichie will be taking her own steps to come to terms with the past, organizing a century walk for June 1st, retracing the same route her grandmother took some 100 years ago.
We're going to walk a mile in their shoes as they escaped on this Midland Valley Railroad track. That's the only way I think I can make my grandmother proud.
Those thousands that escaped off those railroad tracks were then put in the equivalent of internment camps for some time before they were let go again.
Well,
please, go ahead. There's a million questions. I have a million answers.
What about the people there now, Harry? I mean, I know in the years after.
There's a tiny little piece of that neighborhood left, a block and a half maybe, on two sides of the street. And the other side was almost all flattened, right? There's a giant branch campus of Oklahoma State University there, right? And otherwise a lot of open territory. It's, there's so many sins, right, that we have committed as white Americans against our black brethren. But as they go, this is as bad as it gets.
Well, and it's multi-generational impact.
Right.
It just goes on and on. When you talk about a neighborhood that had so much just promise for her to say that was the shining city on the hill, and to have it be destroyed and what that has wrought over the generations.
I know so many white Oklahomans who, of my age and even a couple of decades younger, said we never heard about this.
Never heard about it.
Never knew about
And the reparations question is so disheartening. I mean, there was a chance to try to make things a little bit right, and you get a medal.
A tiny handful of survivors, right? Yeah. Here's your medal.
Yeah. All right.
Harry, thank you.
NBC News Now has a documentary,
Yes.
and there's a lot of documentaries that are out now.
Okay.
We invite you to go out there, take a look, learn what you need to learn.
Make the most of your day with
Today in
30. We give you a mix of everything you love about our show
in a mere 30 minutes.
Watch Today in 30 on your schedule, streaming every day on Today All Day.
It has been a long year.
Yeah, where it's been anything but normal.
Well, now there's hope. The COVID vaccines.
I know. It's been a little confusing.
Like really confusing. So it's more important than ever to make a plan. Visit planyourvaccine.com
to find out where and when to get your vaccine.
What are you waiting for? Roll up your sleeves and plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
Plan your vaccine.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
The Meet the Press Chuck Toddcast, free wherever you get your podcasts.
On the morning of April 20th, 1989, New York City awakened to the horrifying news.
A Wall Street investment bank left for dead after a brutal attack while she was jogging in Central Park.
A female jogger was clinging to life after being beaten and sexually assaulted in Central Park. The city was outraged. The police quickly arrested a group of teenagers, among them Yusuf Salam. Their trial gripped the city, their conviction seen by many at the time as justice served. Arrested at 15. You spend 7 years in prison for a crime you did not commit. Vilified in the public for years. But the title of the book is Better, Not Bitter. Not even just a smidge of bitterness.
I got to tell you, I found out that a thing like forgiveness, as an example of where we can go with being able to get out of being bitter, forgiveness is for you. It's for you to be able to surgically cut yourself from the ball and chain that is holding you back.
at the beginning of the book, you talk about seeing the hand of God in everything that happened to you.
Absolutely.
What'd you mean by that?
There's absolutely no way to get through any trial unless you can see the positive outlook on things. I want people to understand that it is through these kinds of trials that when you're tested, then you can testify. You have a testimony because you were able to grow through something as opposed to just go through something.
You think part of your purpose in life was going to prison for a crime you didn't commit?
Absolutely. You know, it's one of those questions where you say to yourself, if I had an opportunity to change anything, would I? But if you change anything in your past, you change everything in your future.
So you do it again. You take the fall for a crime you didn't commit.
And I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Okay, okay. Salam served nearly 7 years in prison. In 2002, the convictions of the Central Park Five were vacated after a serial rapist confessed to the crime. After you were exonerated, did you still feel vilified, or did you feel you still?
Absolutely. I came out of prison, and so I'm 6'3", and I'm still walking around with my head down inside because it's still not popular to say, yes, I'm one of the Central Park Five.
Why are we here? Central Park 5!
Things started changing in 2012 when a documentary about the Central Park Five came out, followed by the Netflix miniseries When They See Us in 2019.
I don't think we should admit to something that we didn't do.
It really wasn't popular in a grand scale until the Central Park Five documentary came out where we got our voices back. And then, When They See Us liberated us. We had no idea that we would be rebranded correctly as the Exonerated Five.
The fact that his book is coming out during a time of upheaval across the country on the topic of criminal justice is not lost on Salam.
Young people, when George Floyd was murdered, they said the system is not broken. It's operating exactly as it was designed.
When you were sitting in that prison cell, knowing you had not committed this heinous crime, is this where you thought you would be?
Honestly, I don't think I thought I would be here. I thought I would somehow get free and piece my life back together. I didn't know that when God restores what was taken from you, 100 times more than what was taken is what's given.
Yusef Salam and the other members of the Central Park Five did receive a multi-million-dollar settlement from the city of New York. Salam, now an author, a public speaker, even designs his own jewelry. The book, Better, Not Bitter, is out today. And let me tell you, that was one of those conversations where you leave inspired. Like he put a lot of things in perspective for me, and I think a lot of folks as well.
It's not just talk either. He exudes a lot of grace.
Lives it.
It's like in every cell.
Is he married? Does he have a...
Yes, he's married. He's got kids, lives down in Georgia. You know, somewhat happily ever after to a certain extent, I guess you could say. But yeah, the book is solid. If you can pick it up, I'd encourage you to go out.
You found a real purpose.
Real hard-earned happily ever after. Welcome to Today All Day.
All day?
Today, all day.
All day.
This is a long way of asking who's your favorite character you've ever played?
The unicorn. The unicorn. You gotta have the unicorn.
What is she right there? That's why you're saying all these nice things?
Yeah, she gave me the look. Sorry to disturb your day.
Everyone's mad at you, Willie.
Better make this fast. I don't want the wrath of Luna.
When I see you, I always think, I wonder what his quote would be.
Give us 6 minutes and we'll ask as many questions as we can.
Welcome.